Hey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the For Restoration Project watch along of the original Avatar The Last Airbender series. I'm Cade Watts, the voice of Zuko. I am the current host for this time. We have a bunch of other lovely people in with us. Let's go down from the top of the list. Curtis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess that happens when I have the stream share on Discord. Yeah, hello. Curtis is here. That is me. One of the main video editors as well as the YouTube manager for all the times that we post and all the shorts and all the good algorithmic stuff. Yeah.
Cool. And next on the list, we have Iris, one of our voice actors. If she would like to introduce herself.
Is Iris still on tea break?
If she is, we will come back to her.
Yes.
In the meantime, then, James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name's James Riley. I am the music director for the Book 4 Restoration Project.
Thanks to him, you hear like such lovely original tracks as "Flight of the Tiger Dillo" from our second episode. Next, we have our animal voice guy, Josh. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi there. I'm Josh Lee. I do the voice of Appa, Momo, and Avatar Roku, and any other animals you hear will probably be me.
Bosco.
Yep, our Appa does a good Bosco. All right, next on the list, she can't see me pointing at her, but here is our voice of Toph Cow.
Howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me. I'm the voice of Toph.
Brief but potent, just like Toph. And next is one of our co-showrunners, Ryoma, the voice of our main character, everybody's favorite bald avatar, Aang. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ryoma?
Hi everyone, I'm the voice of Aang and the showrunner for this comic book project.
Yay.
Yeah.
He's humble, but most of this project would not exist without
The fearless leader.
The humble leader. He is very humble and he is very kind. And guess it's my turn. My name's Cade Watts. I'm the voice of Zuko. I write a couple stuff here and there. So that'll be fun. And last but certainly not least,
I was about to say, you're using my Discord. Obviously, everyone can see that, and yet you're leaving me for last.
well, listen, Azula, you were the one who said we need to cut down on our carbon emissions, which is kind of ridiculous. We're firebenders. We are the carbon.
When I said carbon emissions, I meant your like big tantrums where you throw fire. Okay.
Well, maybe your carbon emissions could do a
Hi.
little shortening because of your lightning everywhere.
I'm Lucia Lobosvia. I'm one of the co-showrunners along with Ryoma. I'm also the head writer and the voice of Azula. Thank you for joining us for this watch along. In case you don't know, a watch along is when we stream the episode. However, for copyright purposes, we cannot actually show the episode itself. So just get the episode all set up on your end, and when it's time, we'll all press play at the same time. We will mute on our end. We can all watch the episode together, and then when the episode has completed, we will unmute and return to have a discussion. Today, we're specifically going to talk about the brilliance of the writing of the original show versus the differences in the live action and what we feel might be better or worse. And we all, as always, welcome your conversation, your thoughts, your comments, your jokes, everything in the chat at any point, regardless of when in the stream. There will be timestamps if you want to skip only to the discussion after the fact. So yeah, hope you guys will join us.
Also, looks like Iris is back if you want to.
Hello.
Yes, everybody say hello to Iris. We skipped over because she was on tea break, but feel free to introduce yourself, Iris.
Yes, I was making tea. You can hear it here. It's mint licorice.
Ooh, delicious.
And some honey.
Ooh.
Less importantly than that, I am Iris P. I am a largely hobbyist voice actor, and I've helped out with some odd jobs on this project, and am set to do the voice of ATLA, who I am reliably informed, is a meddling hoe. I also think I mispronounced it.
Trifling. Trifling.
Trifling.
It's a trifling.
Trifling.
Oh, sorry,
hoe.
trifling.
Cow created that joke,
Excuse me.
so
Elua is.
It occurs to me that I did not introduce myself.
Cow, go
Everyone
ahead.
else said their name and I did not.
It's
Okay,
okay.
no,
No,
go
it's just
for
I
it.
did it wrong. I didn't realize what I was doing.
okay. It's
You
okay.
couldn't see the format. It's not your
Um,
fault.
Yeah, it's my bad. Hi, my name is Kauthar Harak Sharif. My friends call me Cal, and I am the voice of Toph in Book 4 Air. Okay, that's much better.
All right. So Cade, anything else we need to know before we start?
A couple things. For one, Iris, how dare you say less importantly? You're more important than a cup of tea. Don't let Uncle hear me say that. But anyway, like we said, we will have timestamps for you. For copyright reasons, we will be watching on our own time. You'll be able to follow along with us. We will have timestamps, and you'll get everybody's
To explain
opinions.
it, we will be watching on our end. You watch on your end. When the episode's done, we'll come back and we'll all discuss together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
And there will
correct.
be a timer on screen so you can match your timestamp to where we are in our watch.
Perfect. All right. So if everyone's ready, go ahead, Curtis. Let us know when to hit play.
Already done. So
Alright. are back.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed episode 1. We certainly had a lot of fun watching it. Now is the chance, everybody in chat, give out your opinions. We would love to hear them. We have some of our own. Does anybody have anything they would like to say first?
I have a lot to say. I don't know if you want me to go first, last, or anywhere.
I think it'd be best if Lucia goes last because
Okay.
It'll
She
be a
has
lot.
very lasting.
This is prejudice against Azula, but okay.
What happened?
Okay, I have a
what
question.
happened-
Okay,
what happened to
okay.
Cinderella?
Let's start our thing where no one got to say good things. I actually have one question. I think some of you probably know. What is
Before
the
you do
point
that, Curtis,
of the fire
I need-
ship? Oh,
Sorry.
what?
Before we do that, we have a new person here with us.
Oh, yes,
Everybody,
yes.
welcome Adam, one of our voice actors. Adam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Adam. I'm Adam New. I'm the voice of Hotun in the Book 4 project. You may have also heard me if you watched The Music Freaks. I voice Henry. If you played Blush Blush, I play Logan. If you're familiar with Akedo, the toy brand, I'm in the cartoon for that as Dwight. And yeah, you know, I, yeah.
Adam's an incredibly gifted character actor, and I say this as someone that deals with very gifted character actors on a regular basis, both as a voice actor and a director. And Adam is just that kind of guy that will make you laugh, even reading your own jokes that you wrote and you don't think are funny anymore because you've gone over the script so many times. And Adam comes in and his delivery still makes it
I
funny.
remember that first time you cast me in something. That was. I remember you coming back to me and say, "Oh my God, you made me laugh at my own joke." And
You did. I never like my own jokes after a while because when you're writing, you read them over and over till they're not funny anymore. And like you came in and your delivery was gold. You're very talented, man.
Applause for Adam. All right,
Quick,
so
quick
I
technical thing.
well, hold on,
Adam's
Curtis was
very
going.
quiet on my end, and I just
Yes,
turned on the
yes,
stream's
yes.
playback
Yeah.
volume, and he also seems to be quite quiet there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had my I noticed I had my gain turned down because I was
Oh.
recording something.
Okay.
It should be fixed now.
Yeah.
It seems better now.
Oh.
All right. So I
Yeah,
cut off
yes.
Curtis earlier. Let's let Curtis talk again.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't
So
I don't get an opinion.
No, it's just because Curtis
Curtis-
wanted to say something first, then we'll go back to you, Adam.
Okay.
I cut
How's
him
that?
off so you could introduce yourself.
yeah.
Go
So
on, Curtis.
Fire Nation booby traps. Why is there? Sorry, I was about to say sorry. That's the one question I do have. I forgot. Is there a reason why they're booby trapped?
Yes.
Please tell. I
I
forget.
can't. It's not my turn yet. I gotta wait. Ugh.
As someone
Go
who
ahead,
doesn't know,
everybody go.
You'll
Get
just
your
have to
opinion.
deal with
Okay.
proper foreshadowing, Curtis.
Okay,
like,
fine.
as
Fine.
someone who
then.
can only go by environmental storytelling, I'm guessing that they were stranded there and had to play defense for a while and booby trap the ship out of desperation.
Oh, okay. Game
Is there
theory
anything
over
else-
here.
Is there anything else you would like to say, Curtis?
I was about to say, well, the one thing I noticed immediately, and from it's been a while since I've seen this, but how because the Netflix show started off with the flashback, so we were told a lot of different things. Whereas this plays with a mystery, like we don't know how long Aang's been there. We don't know it's been 100 years. We don't even know about a war. We're discovering things with Aang, so that's the most different thing. Other than that, yeah.
All right. If that is all you have to say, I will give the floor to. I'll give it to Adam since I have had to cut him off after I cut you off, and let's just settle this debt right now. Adam, what do you have to say about episode 1?
I mean, I didn't come in at this top. I came in around the time they break Gang out, but I get like, I remember watching this when I was a wee one. Let's see, it came out in 06, was it 05 or 06?
I believe I
05.
want to say 05.
It's 2005.
05. So
Yes.
I was 11 years old.
Baby.
I was actually upset because we were I remember seeing commercials for the show and I knew I was gonna like it from the moment I first saw the commercials. But we were on vacation while it was airing. And I was really upset because we were going to miss the start of the premiere. And thankfully we were able to get back to the apartment a little bit after the start. But I caught enough of it. I immediately fell in love with it. And watching it again, it hooks you from the first episode. Because Curtis mentioned that you don't get the full picture from the first episode. It keeps you hooked by asking these questions. Why was Aang in the iceberg? What what is up with Zuko and trying to regain his honor. And you see those mysteries unfold as the show goes on, and it's something, it's story crafting for an audience, and this is a Nickelodeon audience that was not used to that at the time, because Nickelodeon was SpongeBob land, it was Very Parents land. They were all like standalone comedies. This was that with like Samurai Jack, were one of the first animations to show that kids will want to follow along with that story. And I was right there from the beginning, and I'm proud of that.
That is a lovely story, Adam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Iris, do you have any opinions you would like to voice at this moment in time? The floor is yours.
Let's see. I think at first I started out wanting to be a little bit like, wanting to be fair to the new series. I was like, let's see if I can find anything that I like would be critical about in this. I think for me the main thing would be like seeing like early Sokka can be a little bit like he can be a little bit grating. Like he's I think for the most part they get the sibling bickering down really well, but it's I do have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics to put myself in the headspace of, oh yeah, he would be very grumpy, but also he's like not in the greatest position. I'd probably be willing to give him some leeway at the start. Be like, let's see where this goes. Yeah, like you said, I think the exposition is very very well paced and very carefully crafted, which I think is like very impressive. Like, for example, I just noticed for the first time that they mentioned the fire sages in passing in the very first episode, and you don't notice because that's not the emphasis of what Zuko is talking about. Like he's talking about like our people tell us that the Avatar is still alive, and like the fire sages just sounds like something that fits in there and could be thrown in there, and then later on you sort of find out that those are actually a thing and you start actually delving into them. And I think that's sort of like if you go back you could see that it was all planned, but it's like but it also fulfills its immediate role in the plot pretty well. Like I think that works. And just a lot of they let you have the wacky bits while also pausing every like I think they interweave that like having fun in the moment with like, oh yeah, no, there's something wrong here. And I was mostly just caught up in it. Like I know I'm biased, but I did like it.
Thank you so much, Iris. And you have a lovely voice, just let me say.
Oh, thank you. I need
There-
it myself.
To the people in chat, there's actually a reason why Toph was given a last name, and it has to do with a production mistake. Okay, I'll wait my turn. Go ahead.
Say congrats to Lucia for being a good sport.
Iris has a beautiful voice.
All right, okay. The faster we go down, the sooner Lucia cannot explode. All right, James.
That's why you gave me boba tea to shut me up.
Yes, it is. I gave it to appease you. That worked so well in World War II, by the way. Anyway, James, would you like to have the floor now? Oh, wait, we just got a super chat, actually. King Nerd 101. Something that's always bugged me. Aang doesn't know he's the last airbender, but wouldn't he assume everyone he knew was dead after learning it's been 100 years from Aiden? So fun fact about that, in the Avatar extras, there's a little blip when Katara mentions it must be 100 years that goes, Aang just realized he missed over 100 birthdays. That's a lot of birthday candles.
I actually can answer this. So have you ever received like really terrible news and your brain doesn't immediately tell you all of the info? It's because when you enter a bit of a state of shock, it takes you a while to process. And when you're 12 years old, that's only impacted even further. And children's brains sometimes don't always prioritize information correctly because they're still learning how to prioritize information. So it doesn't surprise me that initially when Katara tells him, it's been 100 years, Aang at first is just overwhelmed and just goes, whoa. And only slowly later does he start putting together that some of the people he knew had died. But in his defense also, there are people in this world that live more than 100 years.
This there.
So I don't
meet one later.
Yeah, I don't think it had
Mhm.
necessarily occurred to him that everybody he knew was dead. But you'll notice there's a small hint that a part of him at least recognizes the people he loves are dead, because what is the first silver lining? Hey, at least I got to meet you. He clings into the first person. Okay, it's not my turn. Thank you,
It's
chat, for
okay, it's
reminding me. I'll
okay,
shut
it's
up.
okay,
I'll
it's
shut up.
okay,
I'll shut
it's
up.
okay, it's okay, it's
I-
okay. So, well, let me just say,
I sorry I had to end this way,
for
brother.
anyone who
Give me my
wasn't
dope.
for anyone who wasn't here during the, I'll get to you in a second, Iris. I promise. I just want to say, for anyone who wasn't here when we were reviewing the Netflix live action, we do have a super chat. If you want your opinions to be voiced, you may use it. If you want some of the voice actors to say lines, like if you want me as Zuko to say something, if you want Lucia as Azula to say something, you can use that, and we will say whatever you want us to say.
I will say anything as Azula if you pay me even 1 cent more than you pay Cade for Zuko.
Yes, if you pay me to say something, you have to pay Lucia an extra cent at the very least to say it as Azula. She will not, unless she's upstaging me. She won't do it.
I will say anything to upstage Zuko.
All right. With that being said, you want feel free to use our super chat if you could spare the money. Iris, what would you had to say, and then we'll get back to on schedule.
Oh, just that and being sort of in denial and sort of still processing his trauma is something that I do think is a very logical conclusion and intended conclusion to come to if you watch more of it. But I do also think it's a pretty it's a valid thing to wonder about from just that first episode.
All right, thank you, Iris. All right, James, it is now your turn. If you would like the floor.
Yes. Okay. So first, humor peaked in this episode. The show's humor only goes downhill from here.
Is it because we don't get any more bison snot?
It's because we don't get any more small children interrupting speeches by saying, "I gotta pee." Like, that's it. Like,
Absolutely correct take, actually.
Like, I only watched the first 4 episodes when they first aired in 2005. I didn't give the full series a chance until it first came to Netflix. But on that Netflix rewatch, I got to that joke and got hit with a wave of, that part in Ratatouille where the guy, the food critic, has a bite and is taken back to his mom's kitchen. That pretty much exactly that. I was like, oh my god, I remember this, and it was my favorite thing about the show. So yeah, it always brings me back seeing that joke. Yeah, music is amazing. I caught the penguin sledding theme in a few more places that I remember, as well as the first instance of the Agni Kai theme. I think that's what it was playing at one point. I forget where it was. I think it was as Aang and Katara were escaping.
It was as they were escaping the ship. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was about to say that, Azula.
But yeah, interesting how many themes are. Well, I mean, part of that is that music for TV shows tends to be pretty heavily crunched. It's one of the last things that gets added to a show. And if deadlines are really tight, there could be a week between the start of the composition process and the airing of the episode. So they only have like a couple of days to compose everything, and then a couple of days for quality control and corporate approval and stuff. So yeah, a lot of material tends to get reused. Some of it is thematic, some of it is just rush job. But it all felt natural. Like the penguin sledding theme was used a couple times, always in a fun moment. And yeah, gonna really listen harder to the soundtrack this watch than I have in past watches to give more commentary on that.
It's always nice having our head of music team here to give you insight and a lot of interesting takes on the music of the original show.
Yeah.
Especially considering James's legendary achievement of recreating the Sugi horn.
That was wild. There was no documentation on the internet for how to do that. Like most people go, I just use an oboe or a duduk, I give up. And then James is like, nah.
Yeah, like the
kicks down the door. Here
the
you
only
go.
tidbit I want to say was the Avatar wiki that cited an interview that was not preserved, that there was some sort of convolution effect used, and I had to experiment a bit, but that was a fun process.
All right, let's go down the list. Josh, would you like to have the floor to voice your opinions on episode 1?
Sure. I mean, like a lot of you, or at least a handful of you, I watched this show back when I was a teenager, and this brought me back to a lot of like happy memories. I always notice like whenever I do a rewatch, the first episode, of course, like the faces are a bit more animated. Not to say that they don't like do goofy faces, because they do. I mean, we have a whole line of like Aang faces and stuff, but the first episode especially, you just get like this nice kind of over the top rubbery stretch feel on a lot of the faces. Um, so that's always nice to be reminded of again. And just another thing I'll probably always appreciate with this over the live action either adaptation is just, hey, we can actually have more animals in this than we do neither, because live action, it's a much more expensive effect. So uh, outside of that, I mean, basically, oh,
Sorry, you just made me realize that their whole like gimmick is blending animals, but none of the animals in the first episode have blended names.
Yeah, we see like what I'm pretty sure are known as like leopard seals, which is just a play on the
Yeah,
real
it
world
is-
animal.
There are
Penguins, what they call penguins are actually otter penguins. They just call them penguins for short.
Yeah, no,
Um,
because
yeah.
you got like penguins and like bison and fish. I think those are the three named ones here.
Yeah,
Well,
Appa also is
Actually,
interesting.
those are all exceptions to the rule of like naming them after two animals at a
Well,
time.
I think for some of them the names are different, but they're still blends. Like Appa is a blend of a bison and a manatee.
that's right.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
okay.
they don't call him a manatee bison.
They just call him a flying bison.
It's interesting, right? You're right. Like for some of them, they have the compound names, but for some of them, they just pick one.
Maybe
They're
that's
like,
something that they like got to.
Sky
after the
Cow
first
doesn't have the
episode.
same ring to it as Flying Bison. I'm sorry.
that's true.
Yeah, no.
They probably wanted to keep it simple for the
Oh,
kids in the first episode.
maybe sky cows are the females.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
You never see a
yeah.
female one.
I am a female cow.
That is correct. Speaking of female cow, that will act as a nice transition into Cow. Would you like to have the floor for a little bit to voice
Boy,
your?
would I?
I don't know. Would you?
Yes. To piggyback off what Iris was talking about earlier, I do really, really love how they play the sibling dynamic, and right off the bat, it feels very natural and very organic. I have 3 siblings. I have 2 older brothers and a younger brother. And so growing up, anytime that like a sibling dynamic is the forefront of a story, it was always like these characters hate each other and like they are each other's arch nemesis and like begrudgingly will help you only, if someone else is messing with you. Like it's like making each other's lives living hells. And I never related to that. I adore my siblings. Yes, we fight. That's sibling life. But I never identified with like that very toxic, like stereotype to the extreme that is tended to be presented in most like sibling dynamics on TV. I also, excuse me, I also didn't have like that one sibling that you're like, ultimate best friends, do everything together, like how they tend to show like sisters tend to be. Either sisters are cutthroat and will stab a hoe, or they're besties. So I like that they played it so natural and not on either extreme with stereotyping. Like it feels like a very real sibling dynamic. Yes, you're bickering and fighting, but that is not the entirety of y'all's interactions as siblings. And there are plenty of like just chilling, like, yeah, that's my family, that's my sister, that's my brother, whatever. So I do like the real feel to that. Also, I would say I also grew up watching it back in the day, and I was a poor kid, so growing up, we very rarely had cable. So I grew up watching like educational cartoons on PBS, and then I also grew up on anime, like whatever like DVD or VHS thing we could get our hands on. So when we did have cable enough to have Nickelodeon in short bursts, and like SpongeBob would come on because SpongeBob was always on. My mom was like, that's garbage television. Like I don't want you watching that. That is not good for you. Which she wasn't super strict about most things, but she was like, no, SpongeBob is stupid. Don't watch that. And to be fair, like I can recognize SpongeBob as the icon of our generation that it is, but it is also like not super duper thought provoking. And so SpongeBob would end and it would be like, oh, time for Avatar. And my mom would be like, this one is good. Leave this one on. And it was good. It did feel like all of the epicness and the world building and the larger than life setting of an anime, but on American television. And so I think that it really bridged that gap for me growing up. And it has a very special place in my heart. I will leave it there, or otherwise I will talk forever.
Team Avatar anime and PBS. Woo.
Thank you so much, Cow. And before we move on, I would like to say I see that there are 23 of you in chat right now. Thank you so much for coming to this live stream of ours. We love having you here. We love having the discussions. And I'm going to be courteous because Lucia, it looks like she's about to explode, like she hasn't gone to the bathroom in 5 days.
She's frothing at the mouth.
It's a matter of life and death at this point.
My name is Lucila Bosvia, and I am the voice of Zula for this project, but I'm also the head writer, which is what I was primarily brought on for. And my first ever pro writing and pro VO gig were actually for Avatar The Last Airbender, the OG. So coming back to this is like coming back home. And boy, do I have some things to say. My apologies to anyone that enjoyed the live action. If you enjoyed the live action, please don't let my opinions hurt you. I also sometimes enjoy things that don't have the best writing. Like I love Dragon Ball Z, but I'll never pretend it's well written as much as I adore it. But with nothing else to say. Can I just talk about the mail? Can I just say a little bit? Let's talk about the mail, Mac. I'm dying to talk about the mail.
Pepe Sylvia!
Dramatic tension.
Jesus Christ, Lucia.
Mystery, foreshadowing, subtext. Long ago, 4 writing principles lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when modern studio methods attacked. So, the Netflix Avatar. I want to make it clear before I say anything else. I don't blame the cast or the crew. What we are seeing with that is something that we're seeing with a lot of live actions, and that is crunch. It is crunch. I mean, Bright said it when they left. It was an unsupportive and stifling environment. The Percy Jackson Netflix adaptation is having the same problem, right? Is that Netflix or Disney Plus? I forgot.
I think
Disney
that's
Plus.
Disney Plus.
Either way,
That is Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Okay, so same thing. Disney actually pioneered this with Marvel, where it's all done in crunch. Everything has to be done by very specific, very tight timetables because the amount of money that gets put into these things now is so ridiculously high. But they no longer want to wait. They want quick turnaround times, which is why you get issues like we got in the Avatar live action. The scripts are half baked, almost like they were first drafts or even just outlines that got shoved out the door. You can see the stitching on people's costumes, especially in the Water Tribe, and it's machine stitching. That's something even the Shyamalan film had time to not do. The fabrics are all wrong. They're not thick enough. They don't look believable. There's a lot of use of green screen because there wasn't time to build sets. And yet, the fact that so many things still look nice is a sign of a cast and crew that cared, that poured their hearts and souls into this, but were in horrible conditions. So I just want to get that out of the way, because if anyone is going to sit there and say things like Albert King sucks and doesn't know what he's doing, or the cast all can't act, I want to make it very clear that that is not true, and that as much as I'm about to complain and criticize, I do not think I could have done better under those same conditions. I just want to make that completely clear. I have nothing but respect for the people who actually worked on it. This is 100% modern studio crunch culture. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about something. Why is it a terrible idea to start with the air nomad genocide? I know this is a spicy take. That's one of the few things people love. But let me point something out to you real quick. I want you to imagine something. Everyone in chat, everyone in stream, imagine something for me. Which of these two sounds like a story you are more fascinated in? One, a couple of siblings in feudal Japan, something washes up. You know what? Even before that, they haven't made contact with anyone else. They're just hanging out in Japan. On the beach, a box washes up. They open the box, and out comes a woman with red hair and green eyes who speaks a completely different language. They have no idea where she's from. They have no idea how she got in the box. Is that more intriguing? Or option 2, we start in a land filled with people with red hair and green eyes. A catastrophe comes, and the red hair and green-eyed person that we saw goes inside of a box, or gets put inside of a box, and drifts out into the ocean, and then gets found by 2 people. Which one of these is more mysterious? Which one of these is more intriguing? Which one makes you want to know what's going to happen next?
How long have you been holding on to that metaphor?
5 days.
5 days. Oh, dang.
Is that a reference to something that
No, she made
No,
this up.
there is an old folk tale actually that I'm basing that on, but it might be what they're calling attention to here, but that's neither here nor there. This is an old folk tale. Doesn't matter.
How did an Irish woman end up in Japan by the ocean?
It's an old folk tale. We don't actually know where it came from. Anyway, my question, the reason I bring this up is because the problem with showing the air nomad genocide and Aang getting frozen now is that it creates this problem where we are following Aang, we're getting to know him and the people he is around. They are the ones we now care about. Now they've all been slaughtered. Aang has been frozen. The action is high. We cut now to Sokka and Katara in a way more low stakes environment. Why should we give a shit, dude? Why do we care about whether Sokka's, little warriors are doing shifts or whether Katara can make a bubble? We just saw a goddamn genocide, dude. These people, instead of being our point of view characters we are empathizing with, are now an obstacle to what we actually want to know. We want to know what the hell happened to Aang. We want to know what the hell happened with the genocide. And now we are forced to wait for the narrative to catch up. And this is part of the reason Grand constantly showing up to give exposition is so grating in episode 1, because it's pulling us away from what we care about. And when Grand just blurts out that there was a genocide, it is so frustrating because, one, there's no reason for her to have this much information down to the detailed plans of how Sozin deceived them 100 years ago. And two, we already saw that. Who is this for? Aang doesn't react to it, so who does this benefit, right? On the other hand, the way the show presents it here, we start with Katara and Sokka. We're not starting with already ridiculously high stakes, so we don't feel like we've been pulled away from something really compelling to something boring. We see a pair of siblings, and they are presented to us with so much character that right away we get the sense that there is a history here, there is a bond here. The fact that Katara and Sokka are bickering feels relatable. Siblings fight, right? But at the same time, we see the juxtaposition of their arguing and yelling at each other compared to when they crash, how they try to help each other, right? They clearly love each other and don't want anything to happen to each other. So we care about these characters. We can relate to these characters. And when they find Aang, they are our point of view characters. Rather than us being like, oh my God, can these people shut up so we can figure out what happened to Aang? We're with them. We're experiencing the mystery with them. Who is this kid? He can fly? Okay, well, we know that benders are a thing and that there's other nations because Katara told us in the narration. He has a giant flying animal? What? How did he end up in the iceberg? How did he end up frozen? And so then every mystery we get revealed from then on is another piece of the puzzle rather than us waiting for the narrative to catch up. When they tell us it's been 100 years and Aang is shell-shocked, we're shocked too, dude. We didn't know he was in there for 100 years. Because remember, the opening cleverly shows us Roku vanishing. This is a misdirect. Roku vanishing because, yes, that's the last the world saw of the Avatar. The world never got to see Aang. But also because we assume Roku's the one that vanished. We don't know how Aang actually ended up in the iceberg. It's a mystery. It's something compelling. It builds dramatic tension. And here's the thing. It's not like you can't change it. What we just watched, as incredible as it is, was written for a Y7 audience on Nickelodeon. It's not like you couldn't make the dialogue better. It's not like you couldn't add more interesting ways of conveying things. It's not like you couldn't improve on the cinematography. You can, but they didn't. They sucked out everything that builds dramatic tension, everything that makes you bond with the characters. And that is my singular most frustration. And as much as we can talk about the problems with the lack of fauna in this world that makes it feel empty and desolate, as much as we can talk about the terrible expository dialogue taking place over the character moments and the tonal problems. Look at how well they balance tonality here. It almost reminds me of Lion King. The kids are playing and they're sliding down a hill and then they end up somewhere they're not supposed to and they're nervous. Oh, shoot. That's relatable. How many times as a kid have you been playing? I mean, not anymore. Kids don't go outside anymore. But in my generation, we used to play outside, and sometimes you end up in a place you're not supposed to be. That's relatable. Lion King did it with the elephant graveyard, right? Simba and Nala were playing, and then they ended up in the elephant graveyard. You balance the tonal shift. But the other avatar is ping-ponging instead. There's no balance. You go from genocide to shenanigans to exposition to Zuko show. Like, it's not well written in a way. It's whiplash rather than a natural progression. And I think that's the biggest problem here is that instead of establishing the character dynamics and giving us a mystery to make us feel compelled to continue watching, the brand new ATLA, oh, sorry, babies. The brand new ATLA is so focused on set pieces. Check out the genocide. Check out we CGI'd Appa so he comes flying in. It's set piece after set piece. But set pieces without substance are nothing. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's what I wanted to say. And yes, there is a reason why Toph Beifong was given a last name. We will talk about that when we get to Toph Beifong in season 2.
I'll say this. I'll say this.
All right.
as
Thank
like-
you so much, Lucia. I know you've been dying to get that out of your
Yeah.
system.
Adam wanted to say something.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
I just wanted to say that I feel because having the genocide is something that I feel I'm not gonna say the fans because I know there are fans who preferred it that it was shrouded in mystery, but there were some fans, and there's an argument to be made that for this new series, a new angle you could do is show the genocide because that is a very prominent event in history. Some people would want to see what that would look like. Just you can do that, but
you can place it somewhere else.
Don't also maybe it's like show some fight scenes, but don't still
Don't blow your
keep
load.
Aang out of it.
Oh,
I have a question for
absolutely.
you, Adam.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
question for you, Adam. Do you think the genocide scene could have still worked if instead of showing it up front, they had preserved the tension and the dramatic mystery and instead shown pieces of the genocide as Aang came to the temple and realized how it was damaged?
Ooh, yeah,
Ooh, yeah, yes.
Oh.
That
So then
that-
the force of the genocide hits us at the same time it's hitting Aang and we feel the impact. That's what I wanted.
no,
Like, I hope someone edits
that's
that.
brilliant. No,
Yeah.
no,
I
I'm
agree.
yeah,
I
definitely
theory crafted some of this.
he looks at a charred wall and he can see
We cut to like a firebender.
some monks huddled up against the wall as they get fire blasted. or whatever.
Yeah. Think of how cool that could have been, right?
Like he sees the silhouettes on the wall and then
Oh,
it
yeah.
like flashes.
You set up your
him-
camera shots right, and you can easily do it, splicing in like, oh, here's the shot
Yeah.
of Aang at the spot, before, after things, and then we cut to the shot of like, oh, this is when everything burned and everyone died.
Right.
I have my own interpretation of the scene, but I'll
Me too.
I'll save that for when it's my turn.
Mhm.
So continue, Adam.
Yeah, and also there's the scene where because we see in the original show the room where Gyatso is when he died, he has a bunch of Fire Nation soldiers next to him. So it would be very cool to see the scene where he's sacrificing himself in vain to save his people, but he takes a bunch of Fire Nation soldiers with him. Definitely show that, and then have that be the breakdown scene where he enters the Avatar state. I think that would have been really cool.
That's how I would have done it personally.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think this is one of their big problems is that we don't empathize with these characters specifically because of these mistakes, right? Like all of these events are so far removed from the characters. We no longer get Katara telling us, her point of view in the beginning. Now it's Kyoshi. We no longer get Aang discovering the genocide at the same time as us. We already know about it. We're waiting for Aang to catch up, and that does not engender empathy. Sorry, Cow, I interrupted you. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna piggyback on what everyone was saying. I think it's definitely there's something to be said. So the order in which you receive information and how that information is presented to you affects the way that you process it and you ingest that information. And that's the crux of storytelling, is the knowing when to tell something and how to tell something. And I also think it's important to remember, sometimes the things with the most weight, it's what you don't say that is more impactful than necessarily what you do say, or showing something but saying nothing and letting that moment really speak for itself, giving the audience time to process it along with the character. For example, in theater, we have what's called beats, where you give a line or a word or what have you, and there's that little pause. And sometimes it's a drawn out pause. And that's to give the audience the room and the breath to be able to process something meaningful or impactful before you carry on. Because if you're just, machine gun going at them, none of those big, heavy, meaty things are really given the room to settle, to impact the audience in a way that is meaningful, in a way that does invoke empathy and has your audience riveted to the scene, has them feeling what the characters are feeling. So if you don't give them that space to breathe and to process and to feel, then they're running on a treadmill and they're just trying to play catch up with the characters, or they're waiting for the characters to catch up and they're sitting there bored because there's nothing drawing them in. There is no mystery, there is no what's going to happen, where's the suspense. So yeah, pacing and the when and how you tell information is very, very crucial to how the audience processes the story that you're telling.
Okay, did you have anything you wanted
Thank
to
you
say
so
since
much,
you
Cal.
didn't get to?
Yes, I had quite a bit I wanted to say, but this is why I figured it would be best for Lucia to go close to last, because once she says something, it's very potent, she's very well articulated, and everybody will obviously have stuff to add on.
Oh,
She's
am I
wonderful.
articulate or am I well articulated?
Yes.
Yes.
You can't see it, but I'm doing
No
like
comment.
I'm doing Iroh's go with the flow thing, like I'm well articulated.
There was a method to having Lucia contain her excitement until she almost burst.
Oh.
But
I'm
I
gonna
guess,
get a snack.
okay. Let me let her out then, because
You keep talking.
okay.
I'm gonna escape. I don't need
I mean,
to
I
do
know
it
you
now.
can.
I'm
You
gonna
probably
climb
want
over the table.
to.
I'm gonna do it. I'm fine.
I
You
know.
talk.
I'm trying to help you.
I can escape. You
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
talking.
Look,
Imagine-
Lucia out for snacks.
Okay. While Lucia goes to get snacks, let me just say, I do remember catching episodes of book 1 in original syndication. My Avatar experience is very fragmented because I'm about to make a lot of you feel bad. When this show came out, I was 7. I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
I was just a bit older than you. Don't get too
Yeah,
upset.
same.
I mean, I told you I was 11.
Yeah, but anyway. Hey, that rhymes. Anyway. I was 7 years old when this show first came out, and I don't think I caught it when it first premiered, but I do at least have some memories of a lot of early book 1. And I remember, even though I was 7, so I don't really have much of an understanding, I remember finding this show very enjoyable. As a 7-year-old, I just liked Aang the most. It was pretty simple, it was pretty easy, but it was very fun, and I liked the show a lot from the very beginning. That being said, watching it now, much older, this is like probably the 5th time that I've seen episode 1. Maybe 6.
It's my 50 millionth. Get good.
I'm working on it, okay? I have let Lucia loose, and now there's no more containing it.
I'm
Anyway,
making dumplings.
why are you making soup in the kitchen?
No, soup dumplings.
I wanted to do the joke, Lucia. You didn't
It's
let me have the
soup
joke.
dumplings.
All right, why is she making soup dumplings in the kitchen? It doesn't work anymore. Anyway, I was trying to say it's very
no clothes
nice.
in the kitchen. Sorry.
What was that, Curtis?
No clothes in the kitchen. That's the joke you're going for. The soup store, the clothes store, right?
Yeah. Why are you buying clothes in the kitchen?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell Lucia she can't have clothes.
Fuck you!
All right. Anyway, back to business. Watching it now, especially after watching Natla's first episode, I just want to say I am happy to have proper pacing back again. I'm happy to not be watching the first 15 minutes of The Rise of Skywalker for a solid hour. Because jumping from Aang's backstory to Katara and Sokka to the second episode, which we haven't even gotten to yet, and then to a little bit of episode 3 with like no breaks, no nothing. It's just such a drain on the brain, honestly, because you're like, there were so many times where I was like, okay, this episode's about to end, right? No, now we're doing this. Okay, it's gonna end here, right? Why are we here? When's this episode gonna end? I like having this. Everything has a nice, smooth flow in like half the time of the Netflix episode, which is a really nice. I think is a testament to good writing. And I guess the last thing that I'll end it off with, now that it's my turn, as far as if you want to change the way this story is told, and if you really, really want to start with Aang, I have a Tumblr post where I kind of wrote if I had to do it this way. I would have, when I first watched the Netflix episode and I saw the episode title had been changed from The Boy on the Iceberg to Aang, and I saw where the episode like properly began in the air temples, I was like, oh, we're gonna have an entire episode dedicated to Aang backstory. Okay, I can get behind this. And despite the weird pacing issues, which I didn't understand at first because I didn't know where the episode was going, I was enjoying it. I was having fun. And then it just suddenly cut to Katara, and I'm like, wait, so we are doing Katara and Sokka? I didn't think we were gonna like cut to them. We're like halfway through the episode. How are they gonna do this? And so I was like, I think that if you wanted to make an Aang backstory introduction to this show work, you have to do a couple things. And the first one, I was like, commit to the fact you want to tell a backstory episode. If you want to set up Aang, make the whole episode about Aang. You literally titled it after Aang. So I would have had the whole episode take place in the air temples. Really go into Aang's life. Start from how he's growing up, he's learning airbending, he meets Appa. We really get introduced to how air nomad culture works. And, eventually you get to the point where Aang finds out he's the Avatar. And from there, you now get to watch Aang's life slowly crumple away as being the Avatar, just destroys his childhood. The Avatar is only supposed to be revealed at 16, but because of the impending war, because Sozin is, doing Sozin things, they have to tell him earlier because the world needs the Avatar. And Gyatso's, he is a child. Anyway, Aang hates that now the responsibility of the Avatar means he can't do fun things or play with the kids his age anymore. And so I really don't like in the Netflix one how he just goes to clear his head, because for one, that erases the whole character flaw of a 12-year-old boy not wanting the responsibility of being the messiah to the world.
And yet everyone in the live action yells at him. They're like, why'd you run away? It's weird because he didn't
it's
run
like
away.
They forgot that they changed that.
They're all yelling at him.
Anyway, but
though I think we should talk about that more when it comes up in the storm.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, because it didn't actually happen in this one.
Just hearing that gave me some opinions about them not showing any other kids, which
Oh,
removes all of the meaning with from like his only friend being an old man.
Shall we continue to the next one? Yeah. Before it gets too late.
Yeah. Any other last thoughts?
I got a real quick. This isn't a thought.
Blaze agrees. That's the Blaze alarm.
Say I gotta dip out. I gotta go pick up dinner and then take my dog on a walk. So.
Oh, tell the chat what your dog's name is. Tell the chat what your dog's name is.
Zuko.
Yeah, his dog's name is Zuko. It's so cute.
Of course.
Take good care of him.
That causes a lot of confusion in the Discord whenever I say I have to take Zuko for a walk, or
okay, but say it as Roku.
Make sure that Zuko's been.
Josh, say it as Roku because you're his great grandfather.
It is always odd whenever I have to take Zuko for walkies, but he gets all that pent up energy otherwise, and I do make sure that he is going regularly. It's important for the boy.
So when you take him out and he goes pee first and you're just waiting for him to finish, when he finally squats, do you go, previously on this walk?
No, but now I'm pop him every single time.
I love your voice, dude. That is so cool.
Thank you. Well, I had a lot of fun. Hope everybody has more fun this evening. I'll probably still come in the chat every once in a while. So
you're always welcome, Josh. I always love when you're here.
Yeah.
This guy is another D. Bradley Baker. I'm telling you guys. Like, when I first met Josh, he was like, "Oh man, I don't know. When I auditioned for your project, I didn't know you were gonna have so many like really popular actors that are so accomplished. I don't know if I'm okay if you recast me. Like, I don't know if I'm ready, if I'm good enough." And I was like, "Boy, you're saying I don't know how to do my job?" And he was like, no. I was like, "You're good enough." And now look at him. Everyone's like, "Damn, dude, Josh is like the new D. Bradley Baker. You say an animal and he can do it. He can give it character. I don't know how it is. He makes Momo and Appa sound like they're actually talking and emoting. It's so cool. And then he also can do Roku. Like, goddamn, man, you were so talented."
All right, everybody, let's get on to the next episode.
All right.
Anyway, I love you, Josh.
Lovely walk.
Good night, Josh.
Also,
love y'all, and I'll leave y'all.
So talented, dude.
Also, we're seeing your chats, chat, and we're liking your takes. We're liking what we see.
everyone calling me a menace. Oh shoot! I left the dumplings boiling.
Oh no.
Yep, they're boiling.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. I gotta escape from his little cage. Kate has me trapped, boxed in.
I didn't ask to be seated like this. You
Okay.
Do you guys call it the cage?
The cage.
You know, I was about to say, despite all your rage.
Don't bring up Cage around Cade because then it becomes Nicolas Cage and it's traumatizing.
Oh no.
Who are you to say that, Cal? Who are you to say such a thing?
I love Cow. I'm gonna marry her, and then Toph Zula is gonna be canon.
Not me, just secretly buying a wedding ring as we speak. It's fine.
Babe, I already have yours. It's the Ring of Power.
Aw.
Let's set up the second episode.
Let's do it.
Here we
All right.
go.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed episode 2. I said that, but I forgot to unmute my microphone. That's on me.
I had to unmute it for him.
You didn't have to do that, Dizzle. You didn't have to say that part.
The soup dumplings were delicious, if anyone was wondering.
Yes, they were delicious.
Yay.
We finished them. Nobody else gets any.
I have so much to say here.
I was wondering.
To say.
I'm
but-
going to be courteous. I'm going to let Lucia start this one.
All right, let's go. Okay, so Pixar. Let's talk about Pixar for a second.
Oh boy.
So if
We're
anyone
going on a
has-
journey.
if anyone has seen, I promise this one's a relatively short one. If you've ever seen Pixar's tenets of storytelling, one of the ones they say is that we admire characters more for trying than actually succeeding. And this is true. This is why we root for underdogs, right? So it's not that triumphs aren't important. Obviously, triumphs and climaxes and seeing a character's potential and the promise of that come to fruition are things we want. But a big problem the live action has is that they don't set any of that up. And I think part of this is just modern studios being afraid of giving characters flaws. It's like we all have become so morally essentialists that we think that everyone has to be perfect because you're only as good as your worst flaw. But this is just anathema for storytelling, right? So right away we see an Aang who's willing to lie, right? They're white lies. He's not trying to hurt anyone, but he doesn't want to say he's the Avatar because he might alienate his new friends. We see Sokka, who is sexist and xenophobic. And yet we see that he still cares about his sister. This isn't that kind of malicious sexism where he's like, oh, girls all suck and we should enslave them, that kind of incel shit. Like, it is this sort of a sexism born of a boy trying to be a man and having no one to actually guide him. It's a way more sympathetic flaw, especially in someone so young. His xenophobia is a product of an ongoing war, right? So like he immediately accuses Aang of being a Fire Nation spy. And these are setups that are so important later, because in the Jet episode, Sokka's xenophobia is tested. He's forced to examine his preconceived notions versus his morals and what is right in front of him when he saves that one old man from Jet. Jet is espousing everything Sokka claims to believe, but once he sees it in practice, he feels differently about it. These things are gone in the live action now. Sokka is actually, I think, one of the worst written characters in the live action. And I'm about to defend this because I know everyone says that he was the best. I disagree. I think what he was funny, which gave Ian Owsley a lot more to work with than a lot of the other characters who have to sit there saying clunky dialogue. But Sokka in the live action is done so dirty because he's so perfect already. He's already a great warrior. He's already a great leader. He's not prejudice. They add the prejudice to the narrative instead and seem to agree with it rather than having it be a character flaw that can be challenged and changed like in the original. It's incredibly frustrating because rather than rooting for Sokka and watching him grow and be humbled and then be insecure, but then find his confidence, all that entire journey, we're not with him. He's already developed. They gave him a really weak, well, my dad was mean to me one time about something. And this works even less because they juxtapose it with Katara watching her mom be murdered alive right in front of her to save her. It just doesn't work, dude. Like when we watch Katara watching her mom get fried right in front of her, and then we have to somehow feel just as bad for Hakoda being like, yo, my boy didn't do so good in that one test. Like it's just not comparable. It makes so irritating. And the narrative says he's always right. Anytime Katara challenges him, she's wrong. He's right. Every girl throws themselves at him just for existing. He doesn't even have to do anything like he did in the original to prove himself. But here, seeing him fight Zuko when there was zero chance of him winning, And watching him get bodied and yet continue to get up and keep trying and do a different weapon when Zuko is clearly willing to kill an old lady. Like he grabs Gran, he's like, I will cap a bitch. I don't care how old she is. Like, give me the avatar. One, establishing that Zuko is willing to go there, right? Making him an actually threatening villain. But then seeing that there's an honorable side to him. He's willing to leave them alone if he gets what he wants. He is not here to just cause mayhem if he can avoid it. And we see with Sokka, for all the ways that he is xenophobic, sexist, and kind of a jerk, when push comes to shove, he's willing to put himself on the line, even after he recognizes this is an opponent he cannot win against. He tries anyway. We admire him more for trying than for succeeding. And the fight scenes too. I say this, fight scenes are like musical numbers. They should not stop the whole story so that we can have a fight scene. It's boring. The fight scene should be incorporated into your storytelling. And what does the fight scene tell us right away? That Zuko is very strong. He clearly is a very skilled bender, but he lacks control. He lacks discipline. Those are things Aang is literally doing circles around him, right? Like Aang isn't hurting anybody, and yet he's perfectly avoiding and dodging. It also tells us that Zuko is very aggressive. He tends to just go in and attack, while Aang is very evasive. And this is going to tie into them in the storm, where we see that Zuko's aggression can sometimes be a positive thing, when he stands up brazenly for innocent men, versus Aang's evasiveness can also be a bad thing. He runs away from his problems. Here they're presented as good things for Aang. He's evasive, he doesn't want to hurt anyone, and bad things for Zuko. He's aggressive and he attacks, so that they can juxtapose it later. It's all brilliant storytelling, and all of this is absent from the live action. So whenever people say Zuko's story was still done justice, I want to scream, because it isn't like at all. It's just that by comparison, and a very good performance by Dallas Liu, it looks so much better. Anyway, that's the main thing for me is his character arcs and setups. Even Katara in the live action, she suddenly can make that giant wave come up out of nowhere because Aang told her to focus her chi, like as if she had never thought of focusing. Like, I don't know. But in this one, we see not only that Katara is not a good waterbender and cannot control it, giving her room to grow, but we also see that she is clever, that she'll think on her feet. There's the positives of it, right? When she sees that she fucks up the water bending and it hits Sokka behind her, what does she do? Even in this tense situation, she immediately turns around so she can fuck up again, but actually hit the enemy. Yeah. We're rooting for this. Man, she made it work. This is a clever character we want to see grow. If she can do this much with that level of shit water bending, what is she going to do when she's actually good? That's a promise the narrative is making. It's engaged us. It's hooked us. None of that is present in the live action. Anyway, somebody else can talk.
Cal, I think Cal called next, I think.
Yes, I think we
I
should
did.
go
I'm
in
so
reverse
sorry.
up the
Yeah, no,
ladder.
Bottom to top, that sounds good. Yeah.
I'll say mine later.
Cool beans. I'm gonna jump right in. To piggyback off of all of that delicious, juicy wisdom Lucia oozes out. I think it is really important to have characters earn their payoff. Like, we become invested in the underdog because they are struggling and striving. And there are little moments of like, oh, they're making traction. They're starting to figure XYZ out. They're starting to, like, this is finally clicking. They're not just sucking. But if we don't see them suck, if we don't see them struggling and striving and trying seemingly in vain, then that payoff of when they do finally land the move, when they do finally succeed in whatever they've been fighting so hard to accomplish, that payoff is meaningless without the struggle, without the strive. It's a tween, it's a push and pull between the character and their conflicts. There has to be moments when the character is winning, when the character is succeeding, or you stop being invested. There's zero payoff. It's really hard to maintain faith and maintain that investment in the narrative, in the character, in whatever is going on. But on the other hand, if there is no conflict, if there is no resistance, nothing to push and pull against, then oh well, they're just Superman from the jump, and they're just amazing, and there's no reason for us to care. Well, this person is amazing and they're going to do amazing things, and the story told itself in 2 seconds. We need that difference in skill level, in characterization. Like, characters having flaws make them interesting because they're relatable, because they are real. They feel real, and we can see parts of ourselves in them, and that is what gives us that window into empathy. That is what gives us that investment in their journey. We want them to succeed because they are a reflection of us. and without the struggles that are present in everyday life. Life is full of trials and tribulations. So without those trials and tribulations in the character's setting, in the context of their world, why do we care if they succeed? And when there is that resistance, that obstacle, and then they are able to overcome it, it's so inspiring, right? You get hyped, you feel goosebumps, you're like, oh my god, all of this buildup, all of this waiting and hoping and on the edge of my seat, all of that frustration is suddenly given a purpose, suddenly given a meaning. And you're like, well, yeah, I will happily watch another, 10 episodes, 50 episodes, whatever, of them struggling and striving in vain, because this moment made all of that worth it. This moment gave me a reason to believe not only in the character, but in myself, in my own struggles. Gave me that motivation, that inspiration that, yeah, I can also overcome it just like they did. They were crappy, they sucked, they started at the bottom, now they're here, so can I. And that is what creates that investment in the narrative and in the character journey. And I will leave it there. Sorry, I will talk everyone's ear off for 10 years if I stop.
Thank you.
No, I
Thank you
love
so
hearing
much,
from
Cal.
you.
I will listen your mouth up.
Sokka's VA.
Can you guys hear us real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sokka's VA actually wanted to pop in to say one thing real quick.
Yes.
Speak.
Since I stole his mic, it's only fair. This is Grant Corvin. He is the one singing in Flight of the Tiger Dillo. He's just that good of a singer.
That was very impressive.
Thank you.
No joke.
Yeah. Sokka the Water Tribe here. So yeah, well, I've only seen a little bit of the show, but the parts I have seen, just listening to the way Lucia kind of described the journey, and it's going back on how they handle live action Sokka, and it just kind of dawned on me. They basically made the same mistakes that they made for, well, mistakes, I use in air quotes because we know that it was intentional for that one. They basically did the same character journey that they did for Chris Kyle in American Sniper.
Where they took all his flaws away.
Exactly. To be fair, the book was
Ooh,
self-acclaimed.
that is such a damning indictment.
Oh, you know what's sad? I hate that movie, but I still have to say that movie still had more character development and the idea of what they did with Sokka, or than what they did with this live action series compared to Sokka. Because at least they showed him trying to, hold up his weight and, dealing with oncoming PTSD. Whereas this is, as you said, he's pretty much perfect no matter what you do. And just like Chris Kyle, they also washed away the racism and xenophobia.
Oh, in real life.
Somebody in chat said the first girl talking kind of sounds like Azula. Don't flatter me. I was never even a voice player.
Jeez, never noticed that before.
But yeah, I mean, that just kind of brings up the whole point. The idea of it's not really flattering, or flattering's not the right word. It's not really engrossing when we have this character who just, no matter what they do, even when they're seemingly in the wrong, they make the right decision. It takes away, from the journey, the growth, because the growth is what makes us care about these characters, unless you somehow find a way to make them very, very entertaining throughout the entire way. And that's the thing with the animated series, you get the best of both worlds. They are entertaining and they have their growth. We see, as you mentioned, Sokka becoming this racist,
or not becoming, like,
going from racist to respecting warrior.
Clear distinction.
Like, oh, no, it's like, I need to think about how I phrase my words. See, that's my flaw, and I'm learning from it. Character development.
Yeah.
You know what I noticed too watching this, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to mention this too, because they didn't show Aang getting frozen right off the bat and how it happened. They didn't overuse the Avatar state, so they could have the big triumphant moment where he suddenly does it, and that's the reveal, rather than having Gran randomly go, "You're the Avatar," and not explain how she knows this. They revealed it with show rather than tell.
Yeah.
And they even seeded that with the you see his eyes glowing during the little flashbacks he gets to getting into the iceberg, and then they
But
you
at that point we don't know what that means.
get a feel for that as well.
It's a setup, right? It's a promise from the narrative. Whoa, what is he remembering? It's almost like PTSD. He's remembering something. And then all of a sudden, it's like he gets possessed and he's an incredible waterbender. And I want to remind you, they did something really clever. They had Aang tell Katara, I can't train you because I'm not a waterbender. Only for him to enter this kind of trance that's telegraphed with the glowing eyes and tattoos, and he waterbends like a pro. And this immediately signals to the audience something's going on. And then the reveal he's the Avatar, right? Like, oh God, great storytelling.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I just realized that first time is in a dream, so you don't know if it's literal or not. And then the second time, it's like, oh no, he can actually do that.
Yeah. If
Wait, my turn.
To me, it comes down to 6 words. Because I never wanted to be. That one line has so much impact. Like watching that scene, I got hit right in the feels because like on a first watch, it's a source of intrigue of, you know, why does this kid who seems to love bending not want to have all this power? But then on rewatch, you realize, oh man, there's reasons where he has a bad experience. He doesn't want a bad experience of him like going through this training, and you know, you see people treat him differently. He's sent away and stuff like that. It's so those 6 words have so much, and I didn't watch the show in whole, but I watched Little Joel's video on this, and he shows the scene, a good clip is of it, where he's just having a conversation with Appa, by which it means he's speaking straight to camera, basically, about, I don't want to have all this responsibility. I just want to have fun with my friends, rather than actually showing the effects of being the Avatar. Like, he finds out he's the Avatar, he just goes to clear his hat out. Am I remembering?
That's right. That is
from
right.
what I can, he learns he's the Avatar, leaves, and then all the shit happens. In the storm, we see, no, he finds out the Avatar, it has an effect on his life that makes him not want this burden on him. And so, yeah, he just needs to say the 6 words, because I never wanted to be. And the rest is told through things that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to withhold on opinions for this episode because I have a lot to say about the next one specifically. So, in the interest of saving time, I will hold my thoughts for this one.
Cool.
All right.
The next up.
Okay. So, I say we go ahead and get the next episode set up.
Some of us didn't give our thoughts yet.
Oh, who is not giving their thoughts? Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
We went straight from cow to
James,
Adam.
Iris, and Curtis. Yeah, James, Curtis, and Iris.
I didn't realize it jumped straight to Adam. That's
Sorry, I had to get it out before I lost it.
Adam had something to say, and it was like a good moment.
Also, I'm gonna
guys,
step away for a bit.
Okay.
While I get stuff.
Just in case you're hearing things, Sokka just took a fall. You know, it was a classic Sokka move.
Oh no!
Push him.
Character flaw.
I didn't push him. I did not. So hey, Zuko, how's your sex life? Do you want a cookie?
No.
You're tearing me apart, Azula.
Okay.
All right, James. What are your thoughts? The floor is yours.
I mean, on one hand, I understand that, you know, trying to retell the same joke in live action is never gonna land the same. No one wants to hear the same joke more than once. But I do like the gag from this episode where Katara realizes that, you know, she's not good at waterbending, and she accidentally freezes Sokka, and her next thought is, okay, well, what if I suck in this direction? And yeah, I wish we got something more like that in the live action rather than, oh, hey, I am suddenly better at waterbending. It felt contrived. Also, in terms of the soundtrack, I really like how they take a lot of the themes in the show and just play small tricks to get them to sound completely different. Like as Aang is escaping the boat, we hear the penguin sledding theme with some ominous undertones under it, because he is sort of being playful about his escape, but it is a sort of high stakes tense moment for him. At the end of the episode, we get that sort of Avatar's love theme where they're just flying on Appa, but there is some more serious drums under that as well, giving some of that. Also, I noticed on this watch that when Aang redirects the fireball and the iceberg collapses on top of Zuko's ship, we get a little ta-da fanfare with this cheesy brass patch, and that got under my skin a little bit. I was like, oh, they really did that, yeah.
They do have occasional badumtish moments, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of care went into designing this soundtrack. I can tell. I tend to criticize this show's soundtrack for getting too much credit for its Asian influence. Like, a lot of aspects of the show rightfully deserve all the credit they get for incorporating Asian cultural references and all that. But the soundtrack, I feel, falls short in that regard. But it still does a great job of capturing the emotions of every scene and tying things together with motifs and stuff. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's clear that they had budget limitations because Legend of Korra's music has less of this problem. But I gotta say, they did a great job still evoking those Asian themes despite the limitations.
Yeah.
There is one
Yeah.
thing the soundtrack made me realize, if I can seg into that, and that
Okay.
was I
Yeah,
only
go ahead.
noticed on this viewing, but so for those of you who haven't seen this full show before, one of the things that Sokka demonstrates later on is this sort of uncanny ability to mimic other mainly fighting styles. He also uses it to like very quick, or uses it like he also seems to very quickly pick up on like some other things. Like he learns poetry very quickly, which I thought was really cool, even though it was a filler bit. But anyhow, this was him demonstrating that for the first time. I just noticed because he gets like boinked in the head like 3 times by Zuko just
He
taking
boinks.
away his spear, and then he turns that around on him at the end of the episode. And I'm like, wait,
I
that is
love
the
that.
first instance we see of
Yeah.
Sokka
Oh,
like
yeah.
mimicking someone's fighting style, because they use the same musical cue.
So good, the boink, boink, boink. Yeah, it's so
It's
good.
just the triple boink.
Yeah,
It's his
yeah.
first stolen technique.
The triple boink, the fear technique. We got the 5 palm fist.
So,
We got the 3-step heart exploding move, and we got the triple boink.
yes. If he got all 5 points, Zuko would have died.
The triple boink of narrative irony.
And I noticed that Zuko, like in this episode, already has the twin swords on his wall that will become important later on. It's
I just want
very
to
much
point
a
out,
background element.
if it had been Azula, not only would she have captured Aang, she would have captured Sokka's heart and Katara's, especially because Aaron Ehas
absolutely.
just confirmed that Azutara/Kazula is canon. So
Mm.
True story. You can find the evidence on his Twitter.
all right, so
I believe one more person still has to voice their opinion.
who's left? Who did not get to
I
talk?
think it's
You guys were
Curtis.
all spitting facts. I love some of the points like Adam and all you were bringing up,
I was
even
like,
though I had to
I
check
think it's your
on.
turn, Curtis.
I was gonna say, yeah. Were you done, Iris?
Oh, yeah, I think I might have some things to say next episode, so I'll
Okay.
keep it to that.
I had 2 main things. One is that because I remember watching the live action where we got to the scene where Aang and Iroh were talking in the cell. I was like, oh, this is a really cool scene. This is something I'm kind of glad they added. But I didn't remember. I remembered upon watching this that the reason we never had this scene is because Aang never gave them the chance. Aang wasn't messing around. The moment he had, because more thinking, so it makes more sense for him to escape before he gets in the jail cell. Like Aang, like, they take him below deck, and Aang doesn't waste any time. He's immediately, like, he's able to use his airbending to, to get away. He uses, like, the armor stuff to cut loose, his rope. And then he has that first fight with Zuko. And so again, one of the things is talking about protagonists having flaws is one thing, but the other thing also like is whenever the antagonist is clearly a threat. So Zuko was very much made out to be very competent. Like Sokka goes after him, and Zuko is just like, yeah, this is a boy who's never actually been thoroughly trained in fighting. I actually have some experience. I kind of owned him. He held his own quite a bit with Aang, and like he was like right on his tail. So like that was the other thing is that I know we talked about like Zuko not getting like many villainous moments, but also I'm just now remembering Zuko in live action just didn't do things much at all as well. Like he didn't get as much actions to do things to prove himself. I much prefer when antagonists are competent and it can actually, be smart and be effective. So that's something I notice now.
Beautiful. So we have one more episode to get through if we're gonna cover. Sorry, my dog is wants attention because we've been on stream for a while. So we have one more episode to get through that got covered by the live action. Do we feel up to doing one more?
I can do one more, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If
will
anyone
begin
wants to
the
hop out at
live
any
action.
time, please feel free.
Yeah. Quick things from chat also. Sorry, I have to point this out. That the conspiracy theory that Lucia is a secret clone
Of who?
Great Lila.
of Great Delilah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, okay. Well, if I am
That
a
was
secret
supposed to be
clone,
secret?
Great Lila is part Latina because her grandmother was Mexican. I'm Peruvian, and I'm Peruvian Chinese specifically. So I just want to say to Avatar Studios, Azula is Asian, obviously, but the Fire Warriors are Mesoamerican based. So if you want someone who's Latina and Asian to represent a Fire Nation princess, I can do the voice. And Great Lila even approved of me, and who's already voiced her once for you guys for an ad. I'm just saying, I'm right here. My number didn't change. Like, Bright, go in your little Rolodex because you're boomers and like look up my name and call up Dave Roman and be like, yo, who was that girl you commissioned? Like, come on. Everyone write to Avatar Studios. PO Box, Avatar Studios.
The
Just be
PO
like,
box.
hey, Lucia, she should be in Avatar Studios and send it. And then they won't read it.
Alrighty then. Thank you, Alyssa. And again, thank you again, chat, for the discussion and stuff.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Azula attacked Sokka. I don't believe anything else. I did not shove Grant. He fell all by himself. These are malicious rumors.
I will say, even though I will say, while I don't blame Azula for any of the stuff happening to Sokka, I am supposed to be the host, though it's very convenient that Azula's two wolf cubs are starting to bark up a storm when it's time for me to host, so I have to go deal with them while she has to host my accent.
They're my flotsam and jetsam when I sing Poor Unfortunate Souls. In chat, but if there's a super chat, I will sing Poor Unfortunate Souls as Azula.
But you were about to just go Poor Unfortunate Souls in chat.
I could. In chat right now.
All right, are we ready to...
Yeah,
All right,
let's go to the
episode
let's
3.
do it.
Here we go. All right. Oh,
See
it's
you on the
chat's
other side,
favorite. I
guys.
like. All right then.
Welcome back, everybody. That's one of my personal favorite episodes. I hope everybody else enjoyed it too.
Is it good?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, before we do
Daddy's
anything,
here!
Oh,
Daddy's
Dad's here!
here!
Okay,
Yes,
well, Zilla,
yes.
introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, my name is Jacob. I play I'm the voice of Ozai in this here project, Book 4 Air Restoration Project.
He is also the proud reason behind Book 4's first meme video going
Yep.
live.
What's up, gamers?
God damn it. One which I, at the time,
Gamerlord
was
Ozai confirmed, by the way, in the live actions.
That was so good when you said that, dude. I actually choked. Like when you said that, like laughing.
Great.
Yeah. Although, before we go any the message we got.
We did get
Yes,
that super
we did
chat.
get a super chat. If you could scroll up so I can. I think Twinkle Toes donated.
Yep. Poor unfortunate soul.
Oh.
You see it? Go do it.
Oh, I boasted, and now I have to do it.
Yes. So let's get this out of the way first.
Oh no. Okay. All right. I'm pretty good at improvising. I haven't seen this movie in forever. But I was a child actor, and they basically beat the ability to sing Disney songs at any time into me. I'm gonna apologize. Not a great singer, but I am an
Strong
improviser.
disagree.
All right,
Let
everybody go
me-
quiet.
False.
I will try. See if I can remember how the song even goes. It's been like
You
more
can
than a
do
decade.
it.
I
Well,
pulled up
Daddy
the
said
lyrics
so,
if you need
so now I
them.
have to. Okay.
Well, see,
My
do you need the
dear.
lyrics? I pulled them up.
My dear stupid brother. I just pulled them up, but I'm gonna try to like change them in real time to be Azula-y. Let's see how I do, all right?
Okay.
You are.
My dear stupid brother, that's what I do. It's what I live for. To help unfortunate failures like yourself. Poor souls with no one else to turn to. I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch. But you'll find that nowadays I've mended all my ways, repented, seen the light, and made a switch to this. And fortunately, I know a little lightning. Bending's a talent that I always have possessed. And dear Zuzu, please don't laugh. I use it on behalf of the miserable, the lonely, and depressed. Pathetic. Competent souls in pain and need. This one longing to be special. This one wants to get the boy. And do I help them? Yes, indeed. Those competent souls, so sad, so true. They come flocking to my window crying, please, Azula, please. And do I help them? Yes, I do. Now, it's happened once or twice. Someone couldn't pay the price, and I'm afraid I had to rake 'em across the coals. Yes, Longfang had some complaints, but on the whole, I've been a saint to those poor incompetent souls. So have we got a deal? Will you help me conquer Bossing Say?
I don't know about this, Azula. What if I say the wrong thing and Dad still suspects me of being a traitor like Uncle?
Okay, you had to change the lyrics. Shit, I gotta respond to that. Okay, hold on. You have your
No,
honor.
I can hear you, right?
Yeah, Katie could hear you.
I didn't watch this movie.
Hold on, I can do this. You have your honor and half your face. And don't underestimate the power of a redemption story. Ha! Where councilmen don't like a lot of blabber. They think a prince who gossips is a bore. On the mainland, it's much preferred for princes not to say a word. And after all, Zuzu, what's idle babble for? Come on, they're not so all that impressed with your war stories. Two generals avoid it when they can. But they dote and swoon and fawn on a leader who's withdrawn. It's he who holds his tongue who's a strong man. Come on, you competent soul! Go ahead, define yourself. I'm a very busy woman and I haven't got all day. It won't cost much. Just your help. You competent soul. It's sad, but true. If you want to cross the ferry, dear, you've got to pay a toll. Take a gulp and take a breath and go ahead and sign the scroll. Mate, I lead. Now I've got him, gals. Your princess is on a roll. This poor, incompetent soul. That's it. I'm not doing the chant.
Worth every cent of the $5.
Yes.
I tried. Some of the scansion was off. I apologize.
So yeah, if you think
You are
Lucia won't
so
do
quick on your
something,
feet.
Well done.
I like how Kate changed the lyrics there to give me he's like, well, what if Dad thinks that I'm a traitor and I say the wrong thing? And I was like, fuck, I know what you're referencing. That's when Zuko almost fucks up when he's like, the Earth Kingdom people are strong. And I was like, damn it.
they can endure anything as long as they have hope.
I hope.
You're right.
Hope you learned from this. Dude, I love how Ozai takes Azula's whole well, let's burn the rebels' lands and avoid a protracted bloody battle because that'll intimidate them into surrender. And Ozai's like, you're right, let's burn the whole world down. And everyone's like, whoa, how much cocaine is Ozai
Scorched
on?
earth for the win.
Well, that's not exactly what I had in.
Yeah. All right. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. I'm so embarrassed now, but thank you. I am happy to sing and improvise any songs for money for the show, please. We need money to make the show. All right, so who wants
Please
to go
don't
first?
Make me sing either.
This is the last episode for
I
tonight.
think since Ozai is first showing up for this episode, I say we let him go first.
Yes, and he can criticize my performance for maximum in character. Terrible. It's all awful. I'm going to sing now.
What am I doing again?
We were just talking about the Southern Air Temple.
Oh yeah.
The original
Giving
episode.
giving our reviews.
We were comparing the writing in these to the live action and just our own thoughts about it. Just in general.
Oh yeah, so this one does have an Agni Kai. This was the introduction to the concept of Agni Kai.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they ever introduced the concept in the live action, did they?
They never explain what it is.
Yeah.
They just go. I mean, here we see Zuko and Zhao going at it in this Agni Kai.
Do they?
And now but in the live action, we don't have a precursor to what an Agni Kai is before going into Zuko and Ozai's.
Yeah.
So, is that why
World
they
building? What's that?
Is that why they decided to have Zuko fight back in the live action?
I'm convinced they had Zuko fight back in the live action just because they were like, shit, we're on episode 6. We hired a freaking award-winning martial artist like Dallas Liu. We haven't utilized him. Make him fight back. That's my theory.
This is the one adult that he's been pitted up against that can kind of keep up with them.
Yeah.
Do that with Zhao.
Mm-hmm.
It was right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And of course we have.
Do you have anything else to add?
Of course we have Aang going into the Avatar state, having his Avatar state freak out. It feels like I know in the live action I was surprised by how little Katara had to say.
I know. She was so passive.
Just.
They really de-emphasized their bond, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird that they put so much more emphasis on Aang and Gyatso over Aang and Katara. Not that Aang Gyatso aren't important, but it's more important to foster the relationship that is relevant to the show.
Like that is here now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this, like Aang needs someone to help him along.
Yeah. Completely agree.
One thing that ticks me off about this episode, is that Ira says that his favorite tea is ginseng, but for the rest of the series, he almost exclusively gets jasmine tea.
Maybe it's harder to get ginseng, or it's more expensive or whatever. So like Iroh's hoarding all the
No,
ginseng.
he couldn't say that he likes an Earth Kingdom tea while in the Fire Nation.
He's just hiding the ginseng for himself. So that's why he's talking about jasmine all the time, because he's hoarding it.
There's offensive Jing, neutral Jing, defensive Jing, and ginseng,
I
which is
mean-
all mine.
Ginseng.
I mean, in this episode, he does say that ginseng is his favorite, but the first tea that he drinks in the first episode is jasmine. So it's not like
Okay, there
it's
is
not like
one
jasmine's
thing
coming
that.
out of nowhere.
Okay, so there is actually one thing I wondered. So Aang went into the Avatar state in episode 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the first time we saw him going into the Avatar state, and
Yes.
then but only now does the bat signal go off to all the nations.
I
Well-
personally think it's because he's in a temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Oh.
conclusion I came to myself because I was thinking about that myself,
Oh.
especially on this rewatch.
Bless
That
you.
would be my
I guess
theory.
that makes sense. I guess otherwise those lights would be going off a lot more.
I mean, I think the real reason is like the previous 2 episodes were the pilot, but yeah, you can pretty easily handwave it.
And Aang was in the Avatar state the entire time he was frozen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like imagine it's funny to
It's a
me now. I'm like,
nonstop
hey,
beacon.
just turn out those lights.
Okay, what if though you've been getting this?
How do you turn this
beacon-
shit off?
What if they've been getting this beacon the entire time? Like, it's not that it just happened. They've been getting it the entire time, but no one was checking because he's been gone for 100 years. And so, like, the janitor went to, like, go clean up and was like, oh, shit, dude, how long has this alarm been going off?
Like,
And
then
then
you-
called the fire station.
Either that, or it has been going off the whole time and they've known, but they've been looking and they're like, okay, this just must be a false alarm. Like something glitched, it won't turn off. And then it finally turned off and they're like, okay, finally. And then it turned on like 2 days later, like, oh shit, it must be real this time.
Oh, it's because they contacted the other like temples and they were like, hey, our temple went off for no reason. It's just like a faulty fire alarm, right? And like the other temples were like, dude, ours did the same thing. And that's when they were like, oh shit. So then we cut to the scene where the sage is like, tell the Fire Lord it's not a tech issue. Like he's actually bad.
I like one of the comments on the stream.
You're probably
said-
right. It probably was because he was in a temple this time.
Yeah, I think it's because you see all of the statues of the Avatar like light up. So I think he like triggered some temple.
Right. Like
alerts.
one of the
It's just-
commenters on our YouTube stream says Aang's Bluetooth connected when he saw Roku. That was funny.
Yeah, it just it
That's
had
how he knew his
and
name.
that was
Sync up.
hilariously accurate.
That's how he
But
knew his
wait,
name.
that's it. Because all the alarms are set off to go for Roku. None of them ever found out about Aang.
Oh, that's
Right?
And so when Aang connects to Roku, that's when all the alarms go off. They're like, oh shit, Roku's back? Like, oh whoa, what up? Hey yo.
All right. So
Yeah.
now that Silla's said his piece, I saved my opinions the last episode because I wanted to
Go.
save it here.
Cade's perceiving time differently. He's ascended after 4 Unfortunate Souls.
Well, you're the butt of it.
Well,
All right.
he has entered the Avatar Arcade.
The Avatar arcade, you mean?
Mm.
All right. So this episode, it's always been one of my favorites. I know that they do this for maybe 1 or 2 other episodes, but I like that this is one of the few where the title card itself has a different backdrop. Like it has the sunset. as,
I looked through all the title cards. I
Right.
think this might be the only one.
I think this is the only one.
I thought there was one other one that
I
did
thought
this.
maybe Zuko Alone's was at least different too.
I don't
No,
know.
I don't think it was.
It might
All right,
be.
well we'll find out later.
Yeah, I can look it up later.
Yeah, we're on time here. We're on a time thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so I really like this episode. It's paced beautifully. Aang
Mhm.
like not discovering anything versus in
the Netflix, which is kind of what we're all discussing here, is comparisons and all that. We're watching the OG show again.
Mm-hmm.
When I had the pleasure of seeing the episode premiere early in Hollywood with Lucia,
Mm-hmm.
we got to this part, and I've never thought I would have this, but he sees Gyatso, and the only thing I'm thinking to myself is, please don't go into the Avatar state, because I knew that hadn't been earned. And when he did, I actually cringed. I cringed at the Avatar state showing up, because I'm like, it's not earned. You can't do that right now.
It takes a lot to like. How can you?
Because
how
like
can
they had to
that
they had
cri-
to skip the Avatar state in episode 2 because it wouldn't make sense for him to do it back to back. Especially since because of the flashback, this is technically the second time he's done it in the episode.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's the live action made the mistake of showing us the genocide up front rather than waiting for this moment to have us discover it along with Aang. And so
Yeah.
the result is we
Mhm.
see him getting frozen. That's not something that gets revealed later how that happens. So that's one Avatar state. And then he would have to do it in the ship and then here. And because they put all 3 of those episodes in the pilot, which I really don't think they should have. These are 3 different climaxes for 3 different episodes in the original, right?
Right.
I think
Here
I think showing the genocide would have worked better as a flashback episode, kind of like what they did with the Avatar and the Fire Lord.
So what we were talking about when we were watching a previous episode, Zilla, was and
Yeah.
Adam said something and I kind of postulated this based on what he was saying, was what if they hadn't showed us the genocide, if the beginning had still started the way it did, so that we have all this like mystery over how Aang ended up in the iceberg, and then when they go to the Southern Air Temple and Aang is finding all these signs that the temple got attacked, that then we cut to like flashbacks of the genocide happening. So it's sort of like as Aang is piecing it together, that's when we're putting it together. And some of the others like chimed in examples, like you see a wall with like an outline of people, and then we like cut to, you know, the huddling air nomads by the wall, and then they get burned. Like how much more effective that would have been.
That would be that would work. That would work nicely.
And to build off, because I've been holding on to this since the previous episode, I just want to get out and then we'll move on.
Go ahead.
So I said for a little bit, I had my own idea of how the first episode should have gone. I said I personally would have had it be an entire episode about Aang rather than try to slump Katara, Sokka, and everything else in like half an episode like the Netflix version does. By here, I would have also had this be either the end of the second or its own episode altogether. But I also wouldn't have had the genocide showed at first. It's similar to what Lucia and Adam postulated among the others. I personally would have had it so that Aang finds Gyatso's corpse first. That's the first indication that he sees of the genocide having actual evidence. Before that, he's like, it's kind of wrecked, but it's been 100 years. You know, they could have hidden anywhere. And then he touches it. And I would have personally had it that he then gets like one of his like Avatar visions where he then sees the genocide happen through Gyatso's point of view. And he's in the Avatar state that entire time, wrecking shit. That's my personal take of when you would show the genocide.
Oh, that is.
I think there's multiple creative points. The point though is to not reveal it before the character does, so that we discover with them, right?
This is not a point for dramatic irony.
I want to point out one of the best writing aspects of this episode that they tragically cut out is that up until this point, Zuko has just been a villain. Like slightly honorable in some ways, but a villain nonetheless. A villain that's willing to capture and shoot fire at a child, willing to endanger all the children of the Southern Water Tribe when his boat like tears in through the ice, which they couldn't do because obviously the ship in the live action is CGI, so they couldn't actually have them disembark. You know, he's a very real villain. He even threatens his uncle for no reason other than saying, hey, we should practice your basics. Right. So they do such a good job of making Zuko seem pretty despicable in a lot of ways. And then they pull this clever trick here. They introduce Zhao. And suddenly Zuko is an underdog. He was so scary up against the Southern Water Tribe that couldn't defend itself. But here, up against his own people, he's a small fish in a big pond of sharks. And suddenly we find ourselves, without even realizing, because the narrative doesn't signpost it to you, but when Zhao and Zuko go to Agni Kai, you suddenly are rooting for Zuko, something you didn't expect. It didn't have to signpost it. They didn't need a big melodramatic scene. It's just carefully woven in by making Zhao the bigger evil. And seeing how he's beefing with a teenager for some reason who's lost everything. You know, he calls him a bandit friend.
I think it's interesting to say that they show that he's like the underdog, and especially a small fish, because something I noticed here is they show the first time you see Zuko's ship arrive, it's like shot from a low angle or shot, it's a cartoon, but whatever. And it slowly lowers, and you see like the steam flow out. It's like the little Darth Vader reveal thing, and you see how like enormous the ship is compared to like the little defense that Sokka has managed to mount. And then the next time you see it here, it's like you see that it's like maybe a quarter of the size of a normal Fire Nation fleet ship.
Yeah. Exactly. And like what clever storytelling. Even if you don't pick up on these elements consciously, you may not notice it, but your brain did. Like that meme. Subconsciously, you pick up on all these signs. Also, I want to point out every single time Zhao is getting kind of close to asking Zuko a problematic question, Iroh acts like a clown, and we don't know if it's Iroh actually just kind of being like, I'm goofy and I don't care and I knock things over, or if he's purposely like, whoops, I derailed the conversation, dropping all these spears. I'm such a clumsy old man, silly me. Like it's so good. Like the quiet characterization that happens in the background that this show's so good at, and establishing Katara's bond with Aang when she's saying, I know what it feels like to lose people. I lost my mother. This is so powerful, specifically because we will later find out Katara's also a genocide survivor.
I think not only her bond with Aang, but they also tie that into Sokka, who like sees that and is in this moment is like, no, I'm just gonna leave everything to Katara. Like I've already tried consoling Aang. She clearly has something with him, and
But the
like
fact that he even tried, right?
step
Like
back and leave it to her.
up until now, Sokka has not been a fan of Aang. Even when they're trying to cheer up Aang, Sokka's like, oh, I got dragged into this by my sister. But in that moment, when he sees Aang in horrible pain over losing everything, Sokka recognizes and empathizes. It's the first moment where Sokka tries to comfort Aang, and he calls Katara when he realizes he's not equipped. But right there, those subtle ways that we're already seeing the seeds being planted of these characters caring for each other, coming to love each other. And none of that is in the live action.
Not any of
The
it.
only relationship they emphasize is Gyatso, and it's such a waste because Gyatso is gone. It's great that he loved Gyatso, but there's a reason the original put that later, because it is way more important to establish these relationships.
There is such an obsession in the Netflix version with having their best characters be the ones who are already dead. Their best villain is Sozin, and their best relationship is Aang and Gyatso, both of which don't matter. Anyway, who is the next person on the list who has any opinions to say? I believe it's Cow's turn.
Is it really?
Cafe Fonz criticizing too.
So yeah, I love what all of y'all are saying. I'm gonna jump onto the Sokka train of thought bandwagon. Yes, I love that Sokka came in there quipping. He was like, have you found my dinner? He was in total funny jokester, like, I'm still hungry, only thought food, meathead vibes. And then immediately tone shift, read the room. And at first he's like, oh, I took the joke too far. Obviously, this is like, it's a lot to see your home and it'd be completely different. Like that in and of itself is it's gonna shake someone to come into the place you called home, and it is a completely different vibe. It is empty, it is bereft, it is cold where it was once warm and inviting. So he's already like, I'm sorry, Aang, like jokes aside, like there's a lot, but he immediately zooms in on the Gyatso and the scene before them and is so quick to be like, hey, no, it's okay. Like, no more jokes, no more silliness. Like, this is a boy in pain, and I know what it's like to be a boy in pain. And he immediately, like, it's almost like that brotherly affection that he has for Katara as, like, the older brother. He immediately zooms in and is like, hey, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Like, he immediately switches to comforting, which I find so sweet, because Sokka is not one-dimensional. Sokka is incredibly multifaceted, as are all of the main characters of ATLA. Even the side characters, even the background and the extra characters are very well-dimensioned. Even if they're not fully fleshed out, there is room for added fleshing if need. Like, if they wanted to, they could go and give a backstory to every single character that we see. Everyone feels real. Nobody feels like just like a token, which I appreciate. So he immediately switches to soft and comforting. And like you all said, when he realizes that he is not equipped to handle the sheer scope of what's happening here, the full meltdown, immediately passes the baton to Katara, and there's no like chip on the shoulder of, well, I should have been enough to comfort. He immediately recognizes when he's out of his depth and passes the baton and then co-signs with Katara. When Katara finally starts breaking through and getting through to Aang and like having him start to actually hear what she's saying to him, Sokka is immediately there to co-sign and be like, yes, we are your family now. Like, no hesitation. He was like, I am ride or die. Like, we've signed up, signed, seal, delivered. It's a done deal, which I really, really appreciate. And then I love what you guys were saying about the Zhao and Zuko. Like, all of a sudden, big, small fish, big pond, a lot of sharks out there. And I think it's really interesting how you see Iroh emphasizing the need for respect, even though, like, technically Zuko should outrank Zhao, but because of the banishment, because of that shroud of dishonor that Zuko cloaks himself in, and it was put on him. He hasn't found a means of being able to take it off himself. So it is both his armor and his burden.
Question for you, Cal. Who's the first
Yes,
person
ma'am.
in the narrative who ever tells Zuko that he can make his own honor and doesn't have to rely on Ozai? Who's the first person? Does anyone in chat remember?
Oof.
Pop
Take a
quiz.
guess.
Pop
It's
quiz.
Who's the
isn't it?
Who's the
I
I know
first?
the answer.
I want
Who's the first character in the show who
I'm-
tells him?
I'm gonna guess Aang in the Blue Spirit episode.
That's a good guess. Anyone else? Anyone
Give
in
me a
chat?
second.
Now looking up the wiki.
Hey, that's cheating.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm
No,
a
it's
good
okay,
nerd.
Tom.
I
Can't
feel
read the
like this
wiki.
is a trick question because the obvious answer should be Iroh.
It should
Yeah.
be, but he's not actually the first character to tell Zuko. He tells Zuko he can choose his own fate, but somebody else is the
Right.
first character to tell Zuko that
Is
he
it?
doesn't
Oh my
need
God!
Zuko.
Is it?
Okay,
Is
yes,
it
card
Azula?
and say
Is
It's
it
Azula!
Okay,
Crossroads of
so my top
Destiny?
choices were
It was
Azula,
is
Aang,
it
or
the Crossroads
Katara.
of Destiny?
It is. Azula tells Aang or tells Zuko that he didn't need Dad to restore his honor, that he can do it
Right.
himself.
I remembered that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I even
yes.
said I was like, it's Azula, isn't it?
Oh, objectively, AJ guessed it. Yep. Azula, objectively,
Mhm.
AJ wins today's
Yep.
stream. That is the correct
Yeah.
answer. Of all people, you would expect it to be Iroh. And I think it's very telling that Azula, who's a parallel to Iroh, but we'll get into that later, is the
Haha.
first to tell him that he doesn't need Ozai. And for anyone thinking that's a manipulation and she wasn't sincere, the novelization confirms, as did the head writer, she was sincere when she said that. She did want to help him. She thought he was pathetic, but she did want to help him.
Right. And so I love that you mentioned that because I think that that's super crucial to the understanding of Azula and her characterization, but so many people are quick to write her off as being one-dimensional when she is not. All of our characters, as I stated, are very, very multifaceted individuals. But back to the Zhao and Zuko thing, I find it really great that Iroh is emphasizing respect, emphasizing like it's not a reflection of who you are respecting, but a reflection of who you are and how you're choosing to show that respect. Like I like that emphasis of Iroh being like, oh no, show the proper respect. But in the end, when Zhao is throwing it back in their faces, for Iroh to be like, yeah, you disgrace yourself. Like my own supposedly disgraceful banished nephew, you do, and is more worthy of respect and of esteem than you are, Mr. High and Mighty, Mr. Wanting to pick a fight with a teenager. Like, I think that's really, really well done, and I think that those moments of like, yeah, saying it, but then immediately backing it up with action and with it where it counts really starts to make those words sink into Zuko. Like maybe he doesn't appreciate them now, but later on in the midst of his redemption, it's those little nuggets that start to really like sprout, those little seeds of wisdom that sprout and take root in him, I feel like. I will stop because I will talk all night.
You have such a beautiful way with words. You really are. You really
Thank
do.
you.
Ooh, all right.
All right, I believe next on the list is James. And I
Alright.
did interesting takes of his in chat during the episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So everyone's getting hung up on the end of the episode with the genocide and all the character development that's been happening throughout. But my brain could not stop thinking about this one sound effect that was used in the flashback scene when Gyatso and Aang throw the pies and hit the older monks. there's this sound effect. I ended up looking it up because I was so curious. It's called a groan stick. You may remember it as that plastic tube toy that had the thing in it, and when you turn it, it makes that bow.
Oh yeah,
sound.
I know.
Yeah, I caught that sound effect in that scene, and it's like it went one way when they launched them, and then the other way as they came back down. And yeah, I had to look. I ended up looking at the name of that toy. It's called a groan stick. So there's a little bit of trivia that all you guys know now. Yeah. What other things did I say? Oh yeah, Momo was introduced in this episode, and groan tube, not groan stick. But yeah, Momo was introduced in this episode, and I love how they built up that, this Shadow is like some sort of Fire Nation guy. And that's how we're introduced to Momo. How was Momo introduced in the live action again? It was the start of episode 2. I think Aang just
He was just in a bag.
Yeah.
Like Aang finds him in the bag.
Yeah, he's eating Aang's food or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask for your, because we got introduced to like 2 big musical bits aside from that, and that is like, Momo's iconic theme, and also like the first fight where music is like very clearly in the forefront. I feel like the music is what kind of carried the Agni Kai there.
Yeah. And worth noting that that's not the first time the Agni Kai theme was introduced. Like, you hear that chanting in Zuko's first fight against Sokka from the last episode. I'm not sure if you hear the chant, but you definitely hear the drum rhythm. You hear the pipa. Like, dun, 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 dun. This may be the first time we hear the chant,
heard, like, the guitar-like theme before, but I think this was the first time they dropped the
the chant. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, other than of course the end credits.
Yeah.
I think there was a bit of it at some point, but this is the first time that the chant has been heard with its accompanying music.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we get sort of the basic rhythmic structure, not necessarily in the chant, and we get that pipa melody in earlier episodes, but like this is the first time where we hear like the full theme proper. And yeah, Momo's theme is a bop. Interestingly enough, I remember one time I was sketching it out for a bit for one of the book 4 episodes. I was working on it in the server's voice chat. Lucia was there, and she was like, "Oh, are you doing an arrangement of safety dance? Because it's the same rhythmic structure, it's the same octave jump. It's the safety like it's the same riff, literally."
That's true.
Yeah.
But your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine.
Exactly.
Momo dances, and that's why him and Sokka are friends.
Everyone, look at your hands!
He can dance if he wants to. He has already left all of his friends behind.
Oh no!
Let's get an F in the chat.
Everyone, look at your hands.
No, yeah.
That's a line from the safety dance.
Oh, okay.
We can dance. We can dance. Everybody, look at your hands.
You know, that dance wasn't as safe as they said it was.
Agreed.
It's one of my favorite Futurama quotes. You know, that dance wasn't as safe as they said it was.
You know, that dance wasn't as safe as they said it was.
How are you supposed to trust men without hats?
Wait, Grant, can you do the "I was so busy being an 80s guy" quote for us? "I was so busy being an 80s guy, I forgot to get it cured."
I was so busy being an 80s guy, I forgot to cure my bonitis. My only regret is not finding a cure for my bonitis.
Oh yeah, my only regret is that I have bonitis.
Bonitis.
Because they did have a cure, he just didn't ever bother to get it fixed.
80s guy is truly the Admiral Zhao of Futurama.
I am.
Bless you, Jeff.
It's funny because Zhao is actually one of the characters I think they did the best in the live action.
I agree.
Yeah.
Relatively, they took it in a very different direction, making it more weaselly and scheming. which I
Yeah.
don't mind, but
Mhm.
I really do hate that they took away what Zhao's utility in this season was. I feel like if they were going to change him the way they did, they still needed to find a way to show Zuko to the audience the way they did here, and they didn't. And as a result, Zuko in the live action is very soft. Like, he doesn't even feel like he has to redeem. I mean, he doesn't even let the crew gossip about Zhao. Like, you're telling me Zuko won't even let them talk mad shit about Zhao. Meanwhile, here, like, oh, uncle, did you mean it when you said that I had honor and Zhao didn't? Tell me all about it. Like, you know?
I was like, oh yeah, I love the tea. That's not what I meant. That's not the tea I wanted.
I know,
Uncle.
because Ira was the one. Oh,
Oh,
what
like
is it?
Grant wants to say
What is it?
something.
Sorry, I thought of another weird quote to mix Futurama with this.
What is it?
It's like just Zuko going, or just the Avatar gang just going, but Zhao's big and evil. We're small and neutral. Zuko is small and neutral. We want to be like Sozin, ambitious and misunderstood.
No, that would be Azula. Azula, ambitious, because those are.
You might be wondering why we need
Zhao is big and evil. We're small and neutral. Like we're small and neutral. Zuko is small and neutral. We want to be like Azula, ambitious and misunderstood.
I thought you meant that you wanted Azula
Yeah.
to say we should be like Ozin, ambitious and misunderstood.
Sozin was only misunderstood if you subscribe to the Sozin only killed the air nomads because if he couldn't have a hot Avatar boyfriend, no one could theory.
You may be wondering why we keep bringing up Futurama. Let's remember, Aaron Ehas wrote for both.
Yeah, not only that, they both
Oh.
star a protagonist that has been frozen and fast forwarded multiple times into the future.
Oh,
He,
shit.
not only does he find that his whole world has been destroyed, he teams up with a wisecracking metal bender.
Yeah.
Oh
Literally a
my
bender.
god.
He has a person who is very neurotic and is trying to keep everything in line and yet gets high. Sokka and
Oh
Hermes.
He falls in love
Oh,
with an aggressive, go-getting lady.
She's way out of his
It's
league and is
all-
the last of her kind, or so she thinks.
It's all falling together.
Aaron Ehas did work on both, and I think it's pretty telling. His fingerprints are there. Yeah.
Now I want to
Oh
hear
my
our,
God.
now I want to hear our Iroh actor do the good news, everyone.
Oh, I wish he was here.
Good news, everyone!
Good news, everyone.
Oh, okay.
Good
for
news,
anyone
everyone.
in chat that doesn't know,
I have located more jasmine tea.
we are actually working on a story that covers the generational trauma of the Fire Nation. So we get to see Sozin's issues with his sister. We get to see Azulon and his problems after what Sozin did to him. And we get to see the environment that Iroh and Ozai grew up in and what shaped them the way they are. And we actually get to see Iroh visit Ozai in prison and try to talk to him and see how that works out. And we put up a preview fully animated on our YouTube if you want to see it. And Zilla and our voice for Ozai and our voice for Iroh did such an incredible job of voicing them younger and older for the previews. I mean, baby Ozai was somebody else. It was a lady.
I don't think I have the baby Ozai in.
But for young Ozai, where he's not baby but young,
Yeah.
like they did an incredible job. I mean,
Yeah.
our Iroh voice actor had the unenviable task of having to do a young Iroh voice. How the hell do you make Iroh
Especially
sound
when
young?
there's like, I've looked,
Yeah.
there's like no existing footage of young Mako's voice.
But the two of you are just so talented. When you guys were reading some of the lines from that script, I was just blown away. And I was just like, okay, everybody, P.O. Box to Avatar Studios. Tell them to fund this episode. Send them the script. Put it in an envelope with pizza rolls and send it to them and be like, Mike and Brian, you should make this. Have a pizza roll. It is legally not a bribe.
Because there's no way to prove that you accepted it.
This is legally just food. It is not a bribe. It is your lunch order.
It is a donation.
I am your Uber Eats driver, bringing you scripts and pizza rolls.
You know how like Patreon is a loophole for us? This is your food Patreon.
I'm so tired. I'm just making up scenarios. Like, I'm gonna say this every chat, aren't I? P.O. Box, Avatar Studios. Here's the address: 123 Fake Street, care of Avatar Studios.
Listen, if you say it enough
Nickelodeon
times,
Studios.
if you say it enough times, you eventually manifest it into reality.
Manifest people
It's true.
sending
It's
pizza
true.
rolls.
You'll shift our reality into the one where that exists.
It's actually true. You can write to Nickelodeon. You write to Nickelodeon and put care of Avatar Studios, and it'll get to them. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That is a life hack. I've done it. I've done it before.
Oh.
I've done it again. You could do it. You could do it.
Oh, I I think I've already kind of, accidentally had a turn during other people's turns because there were a lot of interesting talking points that
my
came up.
turn's done, so you're next.
So, okay, I think this was one of the first episodes I saw, and a lot of my experiences differ a little because I first saw Avatar when I had kind of grown out of cartoon age, but they had just started showing it here, and that was a few years after it had started airing because they first had to dub it. So I only saw the English version when I was in my 20s, and the one I saw as more of a kid was the Dutch dub. So for a lot of it, this is only half nostalgic for me. For the Agni Kai, it's very musically focused. So that was also one of the first moments where I was like, oh, it's in the forefront now. I'm noticing that the music of this show is really good, actually.
Wait,
So that
wait,
was
I'm sorry. What country are you from again, Iris?
Oh, I'm from the Netherlands. My mother tongue is Netherlands. So
cool.
That is yeah, that is a thing. That is part of the reason why it's only sort of half
Iris is from the
nostalgic for
Earth
me a lot of
Nation.
the time. And,
Earth Kingdom or whatever.
The Earth Kingdom.
But I
The Earth
think-
Kingdom is based on the Netherlands. Confirmed.
You know what? As far as countries where this band is concerned, that's probably true. It's when I heard that they were, going to, or when I saw that they had covered the sort of, the genocide of the air nomads, and sort of started going in my head about hey, how would be a way to do that, or how, yeah, because it is a point that is you could argue that there would be worth in showing it. I think it's the way they handled it in the show works the way it does, but also yeah, they couldn't have shown the actual murder of a whole peoples. That's not, I don't think that's a line they could have crossed. So it would have been potentially I could see an argument for it. And I think the way you could possibly make it work is to put it fairly late in the series, definitely after this episode, absolutely. And sort of lean into the tragedy that that kindly monk that you saw earlier has been, they have been forced into a corner, and now their only way of dealing with the Fire Nation is by responding with violence in kind, and basically just being forced into a position where they have to betray all of their principles, and sort of showing Gyatso's creating all of those skeletons around him as a final moment of, this is where the Fire Nation has won. This is where the lifestyle of the air nomads has been killed. And I think a way where you could put that is not too long before Aang's decision to ultimately not choose nonviolence, not necessarily because it's good for the world, but because it's his way of remaining himself in the face of all of this duty, and sort of preserving his culture.
Yeah,
is I think the
beautifully
way
said as always, Iris. I always love your insight.
Yeah.
Plus, your voice is just lovely to listen to.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's lovely to
again,
hear,
thanks,
and the
I made
words
it
that she's
myself.
saying are also so wonderful.
If you're done, I would like to piggyback off that that thought you just said there with the culture thing with the air
Oh yeah,
nomads.
no, go for it.
Something I remembered is that the moment that really hit me the first time I saw it, and even still, is that moment when Aang, Appa, and Momo are all together. Yeah, we're the last of our kind. It's just aw, and now they're all friends. It's sad but sweet. Yeah. So that was not, which not something they mentioned in the live action again. But also the other thing is you mentioned it before, but yeah, this is the episode that introduces Zuko as a secondary protagonist, not just as a villain.
He has big shonen protagonist vibes in this one.
I've mentioned before, I am with the group of people where I didn't see this until I saw, I think, these first couple episodes while I was still in high school, I think the first 6 or so, and then the rest of the series when I was an adult. But they almost kind of pull a bait and switch. I feel like, because I distinctly remember some sort of track mine. It's like we're introduced to Zuko as you know, an antagonist, and when you see how he is with Iroh, it's just like, oh yeah, Zuko's a stuck-up prince. He runs errands, of course, for his dad because he's like, oh, I want to impress my father. I'm gonna become a great leader just like him. But you know, he is impatient, you know, trying to get, you know, all that firebending stuff from Iroh. This is the episode where it's first revealed what Zuko's stakes in this grand story is. He's not just doing it to impress his father. He needs it because he has been dishonored and he has been banished. He has been outcast by everyone, by, you know, for his actions. And we don't quite understand it, but we get some really good hints. Where, you know, Iroh says, "Don't you remember what happened the last time you did an Agni Kai?" And he's like, "I will never forget." You know, and then you see it, and how they transition to that, where he's like, "Look at your scar." He's like, "Perhaps you'd like one to match," you know, to pull them into the Agni Kai there. I did see someone say in chat that like there wasn't too much going on with this Agni Kai, and I definitely feel it, but I feel like for this one it was much more because it was in like their style, their fighting, their basics. It wasn't meant to be a flashy fight. It was much more of the duel sort of thing.
And if I
Again,
can agree, I think I like that they aren't heavy-handed with the foreshadowing. I think that lends itself better to it. Like, I think if they were real hitting the nail on the head very like obviously like this is exactly why we're alluding to this thing, it leaves out the mystery, and the mystery is what sucks you in. So I agree with you, Curtis, on this. I think that the Agni Kai didn't need to be some full-blown magnificent battle. I think this is like that first taste so that you have a context when it becomes a big deal later on.
Yeah. On top of that, though, the thing that also really stunned me on the first time I watched is that the first person to drop a real truth bomb about the dynamics of the Fire family and everything that's going on, it's not someone of any more high ground. It's Zhao. Zhao was the first one who says like, "Oh yeah, if your father really loved you, you would have already been back," sort of thing. I was just
Yeah.
like, "Dang."
Like,
Oof.
yeah, he says
Zhao
in
is up
his
here with
eyes,
the spicy
he's
hot takes, telling it like it is.
he tells him, Ozai thinks you're a failure and a disgrace. He flat out tells it to his face.
I think not just that, but also like this is our first like I think Zhao, while not a super developed character, like
He's like,
pulls a lot of
you,
weight in showing us
it's
the
like he's
like in representing the Fire Nation. And I think this very well represents like what Zuko's sort of reputation there is. Like
and he says
they
you
will
have the
treat him
scar
with
to
some civility, and the moment things get like go south, Zhao is like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. Like people hate him.
and even
Rightfully so.
I'm sorry, right right I'm
Godzilla.
I wasn't I don't know if it was sorry if it was mentioned already, but you know he says when he says you have the scar to prove it. It's like that does kind of allude to how he got the scar.
Yeah, as
It
being
doesn't
from an Agni Kai.
being from an Agni Kai. Like
Foreshadowing? What is this? Foreshadowing in an Avatar show?
Netflix. Write that down. Write that down. And then throw it in the shredder.
like doesn't outright say how he got it, like who gave it to him, but as you're thinking, maybe it could be. He's talking about he's talking about how Ozai thinks he's this disgrace, failure, yada yada. He alludes to the scar and how he got it.
It whets your appetite for like what's to come. Like that's
Yeah.
the best way I can put it. It
Yeah.
gives you like just a little taste, a little sample, and it gets you being like, that was flavorful. What else they got cooking?
It's funny because as a kid, I remember looking at Zuko and just thinking that was just how his face is supposed to normally look. I never picked up on the fact that, you know, it was not supposed to look that way.
He wasn't born with it.
I just assumed that's just how Zuko looks when I was a kid. I didn't think anything was wrong with it.
You're okay.
That's
Yeah.
just how Zuko looks.
Yeah. So the last thing I have to say, someone actually going back in chat, someone said, did anyone else have a family/friend member watch Avatar and hate Zuko at first? Actually, very recently, funny enough. So I think my mom has seen a good portion of Avatar stuff, not all of it, but like quite a few episodes. My dad less so, and they recently watched the Zuko's Lost Days thing a while back, you know, because I mentioned I didn't work on it, and my dad really didn't like Zuko, so he specifically didn't like you as Zuko Kate, which I thought was funny. But yeah, because like he was definitely like he was very uncomfortable with how Zuko was acting like it, and I was just thinking like, okay, well that's good because this is raw Zuko. He's dealing with a lot of emotional stress, and this is before he goes through his all his character arc stuff. So you did a good job, Cade. You did a good job with that in that episode.
What did I do a good job with?
For episode 4, Zuko,
Yeah.
you did a good job of doing raw Zuko. That Curtis was saying that his family thought that they couldn't stand your Zuko, not because you did the performance so well that they were like, "Oh, this kid sucks."
I just remembered. I love the little moment where they're like holding Zuko back, and he just like impotently kicks the tea table.
Yeah,
that's all he can do. He's like, I gotta kick something.
Yeah,
oh, I gotta break something.
More tea, please.
It's funny. My parents didn't watch Avatar until after I had they saw some of it in passing when I would watch it as a kid, but they didn't seriously start watching it until about a year ago by this point, when I introduced them to like a couple episodes, and then I had to leave, so they didn't get to watch all of it. But I think it's funny. Even if they see Book One Zuko, I don't think there's any way they can hate him because they know, hey, our son plays that guy at some point. They're just biased to like him at this point.
Okay.
All right, I believe it is Adam's turn.
Sorry, I had one last thing. One last thing to mention.
Well, too bad, Curtis.
You touched upon this, but yeah, not just in this episode, because in live action Avatar, Aang just remembers all the good times with Monkey Otso and sort of calms himself down, whereas in the cartoon, Katara is the one that does it, and not just in that scene, but in the entire live action, Aang Katara's whole relationship dynamic is very much downplayed to the point where I thought it was weird how I can kind of see it, but also I'm just kind of wondering what they're going to do. How, unlike the cartoon, there is absolutely zero hint of any romantic interest between the two of them at all in the entirety of, the first season of live action. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with that later on, if they get to it later on, that is. Yeah, so that was that. No, just observation, no deeper insight. Just more like, oh, what are they gonna do?
I guess we will find out, for better or for worse. All right, now, Adam, I believe it's your turn. If you have anything you would like to say. Adam?
Oh.
Adam ruins everything.
No.
Cue the theme song.
Adam?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
They were asking if you had anything to add.
I don't know. Like, I haven't watched the live action show because I've heard all the things that are wrong with it, so I don't want to hate watch it.
Just watch episode 5. It'll tell you everything that's wrong with the show right then.
Oh no! What did they do in episode 5?
Just watch episode 5.
It is the worst one.
It embodies everything wrong with it. So if you just watch episode 5, you'll fully understand the problem.
That's Booby's Trials, right?
No, episode 5 is the one with the spirits, where they start Heibai's story, and then without completing it, Heibai just leaves the episode.
Physically leaves the episode.
Yeah, they never show him turn back into a panda, and they get distracted because now Ko is there, and he's no longer a face stealer. Now he's like, oh, what was the other monster people were comparing him to?
Oh shit!
There's another monster they were comparing him to, where he like puts you in a dream world so he can feed off you. I get. Oh,
Pennywise.
He's basically Pennywise now, and so people are making facial expressions at him, and it doesn't matter. And then they show Katara losing her mom. She gets a flash of that, and they juxtapose it they juxtapose it with Sokka's dad just saying Sokka kind of sucks as a leader, and they treat these two as equivalent traumas.
You basically get the equivalent of Sokka spraining his ankle, and that's supposed to be equal to Katara crashing the family car.
And it's like so horrifying because Katara watches Kaya get burned alive, and then
And it's her fault in the Netflix
meanwhile, all Hakoda does is tell Bato like, "Man, Sokka kind of fucked up. I don't think he's that good of a leader." And Sokka's like, "Oh," because he overhears it, and I was like, "These are not equivalent traumas. Like, what the hell?"
Also, I feel like it's important to recognize Sokka also lost his mom. Sure, in this context, he didn't watch her get like burned alive in front of him.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we're like, weighing traumas here, Sokka also fucking lost his mom. Like,
Which is what makes it weird. You think if they were gonna show the other parent, because they want to include Hakoda, they would show Sokka's trauma over Hakoda leaving to go to war.
Right.
You know,
The
that's
abandonment
a more
issues.
equivalent
Like,
trauma. Instead, it's just Hakoda gonna be like, Sokka failed his test. That kind of sucks.
Also,
it's like,
he could do
what?
better.
I just thought of this now. But if you're going to have Sokka have a fucking like traumatic memory right after we have Katara's mother, and it's Ko who's inducing it somehow, why don't you explore the fact that Sokka can't remember what his mom looked like?
Yeah.
He can't remember.
Like that is such a juicy piece to play with, and they did nothing.
I think that's because Katara cannot fill that role for him. in this
Sokka's a Mary Sue in the live action and can never do anything wrong, and everyone else has to keep his feet at all times. Sokka can also talk to spirits now. It's not like a thing that's special about Aang. So he talks to a three-tailed fox, and it's very uncomfortable how the fox flashes her butt at him and like flirts with him. And I was like, why? Why did they ask him?
So
that's
Aang
probably
is
our-
just not the bridge between worlds then? Whatever.
No, Sokka's dick is now apparently.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then
yeah,
the fox gets
and
revealed
so-
to be Yue later, and I was like, why would they make the moon spirit be a fox, which is more associated with the earth due to their association with Inari, which is why they were Wagchitan's symbol. Why didn't they make it a fucking rabbit, which is actually associated with the moon? None of this makes sense. I don't understand. There were Asian people working on this.
But Lucia, you don't like the animated series. Sokka gets to right off the bat just draw a perfect wing. So
That's
I
true.
think
His
he
makeup
wins
skills.
out against live action Zuko.
His
Who
makeup
doesn't
skills are
even get to
Wait,
wing.
what?
Also, if
Hold
they-
on. What? He can draw in the live action show?
No. Iris was saying that in the original, Sokka's like makeup skills are incredible because he does the warrior's makeup and the Water Tribe warrior makeup and the Kyoshi warrior makeup without like brushes. Like he just does
Using
it.
his fingers.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the only art form Sokka's canonically good at. But Zuko's the
Oh,
one
and
that can
poetry.
draw in the live action for some reason.
Yeah, Zuko can draw faces really well.
Yeah.
By memory.
That is true.
But
He's a
no,
bit of an
Sokka's good
artist.
at everything in the live action, Adam. Like
I
he's
think
the
it's
one that-
also sorry, I was just gonna say I think it's also really weird that he is such a Mary Sue and he is instantly just good at everything and everyone loves him and is so adored, and yet they wanted to make his like internal conflict thing his dad being like, yeah, you ain't shit. Like, then have him not be that good at stuff if that's what you want to harp on.
Yeah.
We
It
don't care that
seriously-
his dad said that if there's no basis for it.
It
That doesn't
actually
hurt
makes
me.
Sokka look very like narcissistic and self-centered.
Right?
That like the one
Get
time
over
someone doesn't kiss his
yourself.
ass, he's like, this is the same as Katara watching our mom die. But one time someone didn't kiss my ass. Like, it's what I'm saying. I love Sokka so much in the show. Even when he's at his worst, I empathize with him and I love him.
Right.
But in the live action, I can't freaking stand him, dude. Like, he's so smug. He's such a jerk. Everyone throws themselves at him. And yet the narrative consistently proves him right. Like, every time him and Katara have even the slightest conflict, he's right and she's wrong. And it drives me insane.
You know how in the Devil May Cry fandom, the reboot Dante is called Don't by the fans?
Yeah.
I want to start calling Natla Sokka Sucka.
But see, I don't want to be mean to the actors.
No.
'cause It's
Ian,
not the
okay.
actor's
It's not
fault.
his fault. It's not Ian's
It's
fault.
not the actor's fault. Although Cade whispered to me when we were watching the show and they did the war makeup that Sokka does, his war paint. He was like, you know why they didn't have the live action Sokka do war paint? And I said, why? And he was like, because of all that bronzer they put on Ian Osley. What is yeah, they put a ton of bronzer. Makeup artists on Twitter were calling this out. That's why his lips look like they're the wrong color because they tried to darken him up. And I just have to say, it is very uncomfortable in the year of our Lord 2024 that they
we
tried to
brown face
brown face a kid. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't blame the actor. He was a minor when he auditioned, but I don't know who in the studio was like, well, this is uncomfortable. They don't look related.
If we don't want to make it seem like we're wrong, so we'll just go with it.
Yeah.
We really wanted to get rid of Sokka's sexism, so we introduced racism instead.
Except they got rid of his xenophobia too.
Oh.
Like, don't
That's
worry, we
why-
didn't make Sokka sexist, but we did rework sexism into the foundation of the show.
I can
We're good.
excuse racism, but I draw the line at Brown's face.
Animal cruelty?
Dude, and
The community
it's
reference.
really frustrating because, like, you know how in the original Sokka proves himself to Suki by humbling himself and apologizing after she tells him you ain't shit, sexist boy. In this one, none of that happens because he's not sexist. He shows up and he's like, no, I respect and love women and they're awesome. So Suki is just from the moment she sees him really horny for him on Maine. I'm not even kidding. It's become a meme in the fandom because for no reason she's like really hot for him, and they film all these scenes that almost feels like baby's first Game of Thrones because they're trying to show like hot and
Well, that's what they
heavy-
wanted, right?
Yeah, like they're trying to show hot and heavy like energy between them without it actually being sex, and so it's very uncomfortable, and it makes Suki seem like she has no self-respect. She just threw herself at the first man she ever saw.
I remember I was watching it and I texted Lucia, why am I watching a softcore porn scene?
Well, and even worse, Adam, even worse. The most Games of Thrones thing they did is include the Cave of Two Lovers and have Aang not be there. It's Sokka and Katara that go to the Cave of Two Lovers.
By themselves.
I hate it
That
here.
was
What?
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on,
true.
what?
Yes, Adam.
Well, and because Katara can never be right about anything, it's Sokka who figures out to turn off the torches so they can see the crystals. Sokka, the pragmatist, he's the idealist who decides to turn off the
He
torches.
decides to douse the light.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because Katara can never be right.
Tired of this
Sokka always
grandma.
has to be right.
But Katara does that ends up not being the way in the show, and the way that Katara actually figures out is that the badger moles can smell love.
Except,
Yeah.
you know, the badger mole showed up and then she figured it out. It's not like she actually solved an issue. She just exposited it for the evidence.
Oh my
For the
God.
audience. By the way, ruining the setup for Toph because the whole point was that they sensed
Yeah.
musical vibrations
Yeah.
to show that they seismic sense.
Isn't love a form of seismic vibration? No,
I
it's
guess
not,
it is
actually.
now.
I
I
don't
don't
know why
know.
I said
Also,
that. This is
Adam,
just
they
breaking my
ruined
brain.
Chong.
What?
They ruined Chong.
Yeah, they ruined Chong. He only
What
has
did
a
they, what did they do
cameo.
to Chong? Tell me what they did to Chong.
So he has one scene. He and the others are just chilling in the cave for no reason, and the show tries to justify by saying, "Actually, the cave starts like right over there." And then as they're leaving, Chong just goes, "They're gonna die."
And he just leaves. Like, they're really cynical. They're not even funny.
Yeah.
It's really
Well,
unfortunate.
And they're
just
also
like-
pretty heavily
Well, who wants to
produced.
have fun watching a TV show?
Yeah.
Who wants to enjoy themselves?
Also, they used it to tease Zutara because they show Oma and Shu, and now one of them's in red all the time, and the other one has this long blue scarf.
They're also both women now.
Yeah, but who cares? Anyway, like one of them has a long blue. It doesn't make sense because their descendants are supposed to found
Found.
Omashu.
Omashu.
I'm
This was a fun
losing-
day.
I lost so many brain cells. Anyway, but now they gave one of them this really long blue scarf. Meanwhile, there's a scene in Omashu where Katara runs by Zuko with a long blue scarf, and they do this like Bollywood slow-mo of Zuko like touching her scarf for no. It adds nothing. There's no reason for it to be there.
It's not like he catches it.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna catch it and give it to the bounty hunter. You know, June.
Yeah,
Actually,
you
that
would
would've been
think
great.
that would have made
That would've been
sense,
great.
right? But no, he just like touches it in slow mo, right? And right after they show the Cave of Two Lovers with like one of them having a long blue scarf and the other one dressed in red. So I'm like, are you telling me you use the Cave of Two Lovers to ship tease Zutara and gaslight them again? Like, why? And also do your Game of Thrones weird sibling moment. Like, thanks. Thanks.
Now,
Oh my
now
God.
Zutara Tumblr is telling
That-
themselves that Zuko and Katara are the reincarnation of Oma and Shu.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel really bad for Zutara fans, to be honest. Like, it's not fair when a franchise continuously teases you when they have no intention of actually making it happen.
This is what killed Voltron, by the way.
And then people will call those fans like delusional and stuff, and that's not fair. They're actively being like gassed up, you know? It's just not fair.
They're being led on. Like,
Yeah. It's not fair. I don't think it was very nice of them to do that.
Like
to
we
answer Adam's
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was gonna change topic. Go ahead.
I was also going to change. Well, I was just elaborating from the because we do ship teasing here before, but we do it ethically.
Yeah, yeah.
Equally.
Ethically
Yeah.
sourced ship teasing.
We actually have an episode coming out that sets up the whole thing where Zuko having to find a bride and make an heir and those political pressures being forced on him. And because May dumped him, Zuko has no idea what to do. And who he will end up with is a mystery. So keep watching book 4. Oh, we have a super chat from Nerd King 101.
I saw the Cave of Two Lovers have Katara and Sokka and just went, oh, so you meant the original outline for Game of Thrones with Jon Arya as a ship?
I'm calling them out. I'm here for this. George R. R. Martin catching strays because of
Thank you.
Nala. Let's go.
Thank
Let's
you for
go.
giving this words of wisdom.
What if you know how in the Dragon Ball fandom, Toriyama only wrote Dragon Ball Super because he watched Dragon Ball Evolution and fucking despised it?
Mhm.
What if this is some 5D chess thing? If we make Natla say we're doing it for Game of Thrones fans and then make fun of George R. R. Martin shit, he'll get so spiteful. Like, fine, I'm gonna finish my book series now.
I just had
is a bad-
somebody. I just had somebody on Reddit yelling at me because I made a post about how a lot of this isn't the crew's fault. This is due to crunch that studios enforce on them. And I pointed out a lot of ways that you can see that this is crunch and creative scrambling. And this person clearly is a fan of Natla because they got very angry at me, called me condescending, and they were like, you do too much. And I just kind of replied, I was like, I haven't done enough yet. Wait until we unionize. I was like, I haven't even begun to do too much. Oh, you don't know how expert I am. I am so much more expert than this.
You have not begun to envision
always-
what too much looks like.
Yeah.
I'd rather be too much than insufficient.
Yep. I don't know. I think sometimes people
I'm
don't
too
like
much.
it when you rain on
Perhaps
parade.
you're too little.
Too little, indeed.
Objectively, AJ, to answer your question, the only interaction Natla Zuko has with Katara before Omashu is in the Kyoshi episode, where they do a proto version of their Northern Water Tribe fight, where Zuko just goes, "You," and Katara tries to stand up to him, but she just gets bodied in 2 seconds.
What a shame. What a bummer.
That's their only interaction before the Omashu episode.
What I was gonna say earlier, which was to bounce off what Adam said, is isn't love a vibration? If it was, why would Toph need to punch to show affection? You would just feel it.
Oh, that's true. Good job, Cal.
Well,
I know what I'm about, son.
Anyway, I really like the Southern Air Temple episode of the original. This is what the discussion was about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
I
love the way it sets up Aang's burgeoning bond with the two Water Tribe siblings. We understand why they're staying together, traveling together, even with the fact that they don't know each other well yet. We can see the trauma bond beginning to form.
And really shows those how high the stakes are, and shows.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, they actually said kill in this episode, which I forgot.
Chat says, I think, Twinkle Toe says, I think I read in an interview that Albert Kim hasn't chosen between Katang and Zutara. If I had to guess, I'm guessing Albert Kim is sitting there tearing his hair out because the Netflix execs will decide, and he just has to somehow do whatever they want. And he can't say in interviews, send help. Maybe
No
he's
one's going to be
blinking
happy.
at
code blinking.
No one
Especially
is going to be happy.
Especially if you realize how many of the interviews at the premiere, a bunch of reporters are trying to coax an answer out of the live action cast if they like Zutara or Katang more.
Like I said, the creatives don't get a choice. I don't hold them responsible for what Netflix has wrought. I mean, even Bright told us when they exited, it is a hostile, unsupportive, stifling environment.
Ooh,
and that wasn't going to disappear just because they left. That just meant whoever inherited it was going to... I'm really sad that the Asian showrunner is probably going to be the one to catch heat, because a lot of the wider audiences don't actually know what studios do to you. But there's a reason Percy Jackson is having the same problem despite being on a completely different streaming service, because this is how a lot of modern content's made now.
We created... well, I would say we have witnessed the factorization line of movies be created thanks to Marvel.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of things wrong in our entertainment industry, all roads lead to Disney.
All roads lead to Disney.
Yeah.
Like I actually read something earlier today. It's like if you've ever wondered why voice actors constantly get snubbed by celebrity superheroes, you can thank Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Well, this is why I think James C is a hero, and I told him this at the premiere. In a world where screen actors keep stealing roles from voice actors, he flipped the script, and he's a voice actor that stole a role from a screen actor. So you know what,
The
James
reverse
C.
Uno.
James C. 2024. He should be president. I'm calling it now. Independent Cabbages Party.
Let's
The
make
cabbage party.
Let's
Yeah.
make cabbages great again.
Let's go. Let's go. Why vote for these two milquetoast candidates when you could have a
The
cabbage?
next time
instead?
James C is at a rally, he'll be like, "You'll all be my cabbages."
All right.
I
So
think it's kind of ended, huh?
yeah, I think
Time
I
to
think
say
hold on,
goodbye.
Iris wants to say something.
Goodbye. It was lovely watching things with you.
It was lovely having you, all
Thank
of
you
you.
for joining,
So
Iris.
next week, who's down for next week? We'll find out. Let's do this next Saturday and do a couple more,
Next
huh?
3 episodes, I believe.
Heck yeah.
What have we
Okay.
got for
Morning?
next?
Let's
Still
see.
gonna
For
have
next,
to work.
You better show up, dunderheads.
next week on the docket, we have the Warriors of Kyoshi and the King of Omashu, though we could also throw in Imprisoned.
I would like to throw it Imprisoned. That episode gets overlooked a lot.
It is a good episode, especially for Katara, and I'm very sad that they cut it in its entirety. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us for our first stream of running through the original show. The Book 4 Restoration Project is happy to have you all, and we hope to see you again next time. Thank you so
Yay.
much to everyone for joining.
Say goodnight, Zuko.
Good night, Zuko.
night,
Wait,
Zuko.
no, damn it!
Night, Zuko.